Good Saturday afternoon, Northeast Ohio. We're starting to see a little bit more activity as we get into the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings just issued within the last half hour or so. We have one right now for the greater Cleveland area, and that one's set to expire at around 5:15, kind of an elongated, a couple of storms, a little bit more feisty than others. And we have one just outside of the Richland County area that is producing some severe wind gusts as we get into the latter half of this afternoon. So the show is just starting here in Northeast Ohio late this afternoon and early evening. So as always, we're going to be here for you, keeping you updated and safe as these storms continue to move into Northeast Ohio. But let's update you on the severe potential right now. So we have a severe thunderstorm watch in place across most of the state of Ohio right now. Let's get you up to date on the at least timing right now. So this is for everyone here in the News 5 viewing area, all the way from Ashtabula down to Carroll County into Coshocton, Richland County, up towards the Norwalk area, all through about 9 o'clock this evening. So this was issued a little bit after 12 o'clock this afternoon. So we have a lot more potential of some severe weather throughout the second half of this afternoon into this evening. So damaging winds look to be the primary concern from these thunderstorms that are starting to make their way back in. So as I mentioned, as we started off in the greater Cleveland area, some of those severe thunderstorms kind of popping back up right around the North Olmsted area, up towards Avon Lake. This little cluster of storms a little bit more feisty. And as we get further and further west, just to the north and west of Oberlin, a little bit more of a stronger storm situated just south of Vermillion. So a lot more of these severe thunderstorms starting to pop back up. A little bit of lightning associated with the one just to the south and east of Parma, around the Brecksville area, just south and west of Solon. So the northeastern quadrant of Cuyahoga County, not necessarily under that warning at the moment, but the threat is there for some damaging winds, certainly some frequent lightning and some very heavy rains as these storms slowly make their way throughout the next couple of hours through the region. So let's get you some at least information on some of the movements right there. These are slowly making their way southward over the next couple of hours. So it's going to be at least between now and almost near sunset by the time we start to actually clear out here in Northeast Ohio late this afternoon. So these storms are really not moving too quickly, moving at about 35 to 40 miles per hour, which is a little bit faster in parts, moving towards the east. So let's put some motion onto these thunderstorms right now, and let's take a look. So it wasn't really too long after about 4 o'clock that we really started to see these storms kind of fire up, as the atmosphere has certainly been fairly clear, and thankfully most, if not all, of the smoke has moved out of Northeast Ohio as of this morning. So the atmosphere is a little bit more primed to get a little bit more unstable, allowing for a lot of these storms to slowly start to pop back up for the second half of the latter half of the day today into this evening. So certainly some at least severe risks between now and about sunset tonight, and we'll start to see a lot more of these severe thunderstorm warnings popping back up over the next several hours. So you want to stay a little bit more weather aware right now here in Northeast Ohio. So Karen, Twinsburg, big rain, sheets of rain, in fact, and big wind starting to make its way into northern Summit County, which is also included in this warning. So Twinsburg, around the Northfield area, just to the north of Hudson, definitely some very heavy downpours starting to go on. We got some at least lightning on the north end of this thunderstorm right now, and this continues to push a little bit further south and eastward into maybe parts of Portage County. So Aurora, you might want to be on alert right now, not necessarily under a warning per se. Bainbridge also not under that warning, but the threat will kind of increase in the next half hour to 45 minutes as these storms slowly make their way eastward as we get into the next half hour to 45 minutes. So these storms starting to make more of an appearance late this afternoon and early evening. Once we get past about 9-10 o'clock tonight, things will start to calm down once again as our main cold front well to the north kind of pushes through. So throughout the next several hours, we'll be talking these severe thunderstorm potentials here in Northeast Ohio. Just off the lake shore, we have a marine warning, which does include parts of Lake County, also into Ashtabula County, which will be at least for the next 2 hours or so as the storm continues to drag a little bit further southward and may clip parts of at least the Lake County region throughout the next couple of hours. So we have the at least severe thunderstorm warning here in greater Cleveland, but also one just outside of the Richland County area around Bucyrus, New Washington, up towards Carruthers and New Pittsburgh. So this is our next little, at least potential of some severe weather in our western communities, especially around Shelby, towards the Mansfield area within the next hour or so. So we'll definitely have to keep a very close eye on this over the next couple of hours. The Guardians are back at it again this evening at about 7:05 for first pitch. I think we'll get the game in tonight without many problems, but there might be a delay, at least to start off that game tonight. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on this system as it slowly makes its way further southward throughout this evening. So let's take a look at some of those questions right now. So Greater Cleveland, potential for some severe weather will be with us within the next half hour to 45 minutes. A lot of these storms kind of at least packing some wind potential, not necessarily anything more than that. So winds could be in excess of 60 miles per hour. Let's take a look at some of the wind gust potential here in the area right now. So let's take a look at our base velocity, and yeah, pretty decent amount of at least brighter greens, which is indication. Let's get some of that radar at least cleared up with the lightning off there. So let's take a look at if my mouse would work. Come on, there we go. So let's take a look at some of these potential wind gusts. So about 45 to near 50 miles per hour. So once you get about 58 to near 60, we classify that as severe. So we're right next door to the radar. So it's getting a pretty good, at least, look at those storms. So we might be getting closer to 50, maybe 60 mile per hour gusts with some of these storms, as we do potentially see those at least storms moving further east at about 40 miles per hour. So right now these storms are moving basically east, just slightly southeast, and my mouse just does not want to work today for some odd reason. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get back to the reflectivity. So severe thunderstorm warning, yep, just issued as I was anticipating. So right around the Manaway area, Shalersville up towards Nelson. So our next severe thunderstorm warning just issued, and that does not necessarily include Ravenna nor Kent, but Twin Lakes and kind of Hudson in between most of those warnings right now. So the next severe thunderstorm warning now going through, let's see, wrong screen there. There we go. 5:15 as well for Portage County. So this one also packing a little bit more wind as we get into the latter half of the 4 o'clock hour into the 5 o'clock hours. These storms are kind of building on each other within the next couple of hours. So our main focus right now is going to be strong damaging winds, some frequent lightning, and also that threat for a little bit more in the way of some heavy downpours. So these are just kind of the stronger storms ahead of the frontal boundary. So right along the lakeshore, you can kind of see some of those at least radar returns. This is the actual front, just to the north of Lake Erie. So this is actually out ahead of the main front. So we'll be talking a little bit more severe weather. But if a lot of these storms kind of pop up ahead of it, some of the at least instability may start to wane a bit. So that is actually some good news. So hopefully we won't have 2 rounds of severe weather, just kind of a round right now, and then hopefully some quieter weather as the actual cold front pushes through later this afternoon and into the early evening right now. So a lot more potential of some severe thunderstorms within the next hour or so here in Greater Cleveland. And yeah, we got some sunshine down in Akron right now. We can take a look at some of our tower cameras showing those skies here in Northeast Ohio right now. And let's see what we got here. So downtown Cleveland, certainly a little bit more cloud cover, a little bit more of an ominous sky right now. Some of those storms are just to the south and east of downtown Cleveland. And as we get into the Akron area, let's see if I can find that camera really quick here. So yeah, the Akron area, a lot more in the way of cloud cover across downtown Akron. So those clouds are kind of thickening back up as some of these showers and storms starting to move back in. So probably on the at least south side of Akron, a little bit more sunshine out that way. But storms are beginning to pop back up early this afternoon, or early this evening, I should say, and they are beginning to make more of a push east and slightly southeast over the next several hours. So we have a few severe thunderstorm warnings already in play for Portage County, northern Summit County, Cuyahoga County, and also into Lorain County. They're about 5:15, so probably another half hour to 35 minutes or so before these thunderstorm warnings are at least able to expire. Guardians game, at least a possibility of having that potential of some at least issues early on this evening. We might have a delay on getting the game started. I believe it's a 7:05 start. If anyone has a different time, please correct me. But I think the at least game will get on without many problems after we get through the 7 or 8 o'clock hour tonight through the second half of this evening. So a lot of folks out there we'll be able to go check out the Guardians game. I think once we get past about 7, 8 o'clock tonight, we'll start to clear out here in Greater Cleveland. But the further south you are, I think around Route 30 towards at least Tuscarawas County, still some storm potential even into the 7 and 8 o'clock hour tonight as our cold front pushes further southward kind of slowly between now and about 9, 10 o'clock across northeast Ohio. So a lot of those showers and storms already starting to pop back up tonight as more of these storms will begin to at least pop up. Could be potentially some stronger wind gusts with a lot of these storms and a lot more potential of some strong severe storms even into Pennsylvania. They've had a lot of flooding issues over the last several days, so unfortunately another flood watch for most of Pennsylvania. Heavy rain a possibility here in northeast Ohio as well. We could potentially see some heavy downpours causing some at least havoc on the roadways, so you definitely want to at least give yourself a little bit of extra time if you're going to be traveling later this afternoon and early evening. So heavy rain and strong winds certainly going to be the biggest concern from these storms, along with some frequent lightning. Can't completely rule out maybe an isolated tornado chance in a couple locations, but I think the tornado threat is as close to zero as you can get it without actually being zero, if that makes any sense. So the chance for a tornado is fairly low. I think we'll see some damaging wind gusts and also some heavy rain with these storms as we do continue to move into this evening. So no flooding advisories right now, Derek, but we will see that threat, I think, of some heavy rain. So there could be potentially a heavy downpour at times, causing some minimalized flooding in some of these areas. I know a lot of folks have seen a significant amount of flooding so far this summer, but hopefully these storms will move a little bit quicker than we've had in weeks past. So a lot of these storms will slowly start to at least move out of here in a timely fashion, so we don't have to see a lot of flooding issues here in northeast Ohio this afternoon. So let's take a look. Southern Stark County, Cheney, I think by the time we get into the 6, 7, 8 o'clock hour, parts of Stark County will definitely see the threat for some stronger storms. I don't think a lot of at least threats immediately. We'll be talking probably closer to 5:36, maybe even into the 7 o'clock hour before we start to see some of these storms moving further southward. So they're kind of moving more trajectory east, but there's a little bit of a push southward over the next couple of hours. So between about, I'd say, 5 and 7 will be the better chance of seeing some of those storms in southern Stark County this evening. But I think the chance will be there for pretty much everyone here in northeast Ohio for at least some sort of thunderstorm activity with some rain, some frequent lightning. I know a lot of folks are having some outdoor activities. I know some grad parties going on. We're still having some festivals here in northeast Ohio, so just be weather aware. This is not going to be an all-night affair by any stretch. By the time we get into the 10 o'clock hour, I think most, if not all of us, are out of the woods completely with severe weather, but we do have to get through at least a little bit more of these stronger storms early this evening, which is kind of at least not the perfect time for folks as we're getting out about right now. So Parma right now, Naisha, starting to see a few of those storms just on your doorstep around the Strongsville area. So yeah, these storms, I believe, will start to move a little bit further into Parma within the next half hour or so, if not sooner. So a little bit more rain, certainly on the way with some heavier downpours, a good possibility, and maybe some frequent lightning with these storms as they do move into central Cuyahoga County. Independence, you're kind of next in the docket. Maple Heights towards Brecksville, and just to around Boston, perhaps even into Solon and Reminderville and Twinsburg. Again, potentially could see some more heavy rains and some frequent lightning with maybe some gusts of wind over about 50 miles per hour as these storms continue to move further eastward at about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So a few of these thunderstorm warnings across our northern communities, they go till about 5:15. So hopefully within the next half hour, we'll see those at least set to expire. Let's see here. Up towards Elyria, the potential is going to be there once again for some thunderstorms. You're kind of on the fringe of that storm right now on the southern half of Elyria right now. You're still under the severe thunderstorm warning. And let's take a look at some of those wind gust potential. So starting to see a few more wind gusts closer to 40, maybe borderline 50 plus miles per hour in some of these storms. These are at least a few thousand feet up in the air. So as far as samples, it's not close to the surface by any means, but there could be some wind gusts in excess of 40 to 50, maybe close to 60 in parts of Lorain County for the end of this afternoon and into the evening hours. And we're seeing more of this storm kind of pushing further eastward into parts of Eaton and eventually Columbia Center. So yeah, one round just kind of missing parts of central Lorain County, but we're going to see more of these storms, I think, on the way with the actual cold fronts moving into parts of northeast Ohio right now. So yes, the Cuyahoga Falls Italian Festival, the potential is going to be there probably within the next half hour, if not sooner, for these storms. So Cuyahoga Falls, you're just on the doorstep of that potential for some thunderstorms right now, and you're starting to see more of that rain just kind of on your doorstep just to the north. A lot of that lightning just to the north around Hudson, so you're probably not hearing much lightning or hearing much thunder, I should say, or seeing a lot of lightning, but definitely close enough to Cuyahoga Falls where I would recommend getting inside and staying in there for probably the next hour or so as these storms kind of move into northern Summit County, at least for the time being. So a little bit of a problem as we get into the latter half of this evening. So the storms along the lake shore, Kyle, we're going to see some storms, I think, forming on the cold front itself, but there's a lot of activity kind of popping up ahead of it, so that might actually help us out in the long run. So these storms kind of gobble up a lot of the energy that the atmosphere is kind of at least using for these thunderstorms, and the cold front itself, not really seeing a lot of active weather, maybe a rumble or two of thunder in central Lake Erie. Most of the action kind of staying along the lake shore towards Ashtabula, even into Erie County, Pennsylvania. So I think this is actually a good scenario right now that we're kind of seeing some storms popping up well ahead of the main line, but then the front itself really not showing a lot of activity at the moment. There's still a chance of some stronger storms with the actual front pushing in, but I think the chance is actually going to be a little bit lower, thankfully, with these storms kind of popping up ahead of it, producing a lot more of these stronger wind gusts. Right now, it kind of gobbles up more of that, at least, instability here in the atmosphere this evening. Angie, what time are we looking at Grafton fireworks? Give me a time, and I can give you a forecast this evening. Yes, Mrs. Producer, can I have a question?
Yes,
the 6. We are looking at some storms right now. I think we could potentially go on as planned. We don't have to worry about any other plan with that one, so we should be good. If he's in the building, you can talk to him. Yes, yes. Yes, Angie, give me a time for your fireworks, and I can give you a forecast for that one. So let's see here. Jade, Ashtabula, Geneva, looking at some thunderstorm activity just outside of the Ashtabula right now. So these storms, they are kind of moving a little bit further east, but there's a few more kind of popping back up just behind it. So as they get closer and closer to the lakeshore, we'll definitely see the increased potential of some stormy weather around Geneva towards Ashtabula, Geneva on the lake, even into Conneaut. You're probably hearing some thunder right now just off the shore. So the main focus right now is going to be just off the shore of Lake Erie, but between now and about 5:30 at the latest, we'll be seeing more of these storms popping further southward into Ashtabula County right now. So a lot of these storms will be moving further and southward. So 9 to 10 o'clock, Angie, I think most of the area will actually be pretty much done with these storms. So I think we'll actually have a pretty decent chance of getting most activities in after about 9, 10 o'clock tonight. So I think you'll be good to go for those fireworks this evening, and we should be pretty much out of the woods for most of the area by 10 o'clock at the very latest as this cold front sags further southward into central and eventually southern Ohio. So eventually we'll start to see these thunderstorms at least starting to move in right now. A lot of sideways rain in Parma. Naisha, definitely, I would not doubt that for a second. A lot of these raindrops probably coming in hot and heavy right now. And more of these thunderstorms around Hudson, towards the Friedman area, and also just into parts of Richland County. Starting to see more of those thunderstorms around Shiloh, northern Richland County. Starting to see more of those heavy downpours right now. So more of these thunderstorms going to be a bit of a problem as we get into the end of this afternoon into this evening. So the threat for more storms will be with us this evening. Baseball game down at Progressive Field, I'm assuming that you're talking about, will be, I think, going on without many problems. There might be a delay to start off the game. It's a 7:05 start, if I remember correctly, and we're only at about 5 till 5. So we have a couple hours between now and first pitch. I think we'll get the game in without a problem, but there might be a bit of a delay, at least first thing this evening. So we'll be talking at least between now and 7, maybe 8 o'clock for some thunder along the northern half of the viewing area. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning right now for Medina County. That does include most of at least the Pittsfield area towards Brunswick, even into Medina proper. For this thunderstorm right now, and let's check out the timing on that one. That one goes to about 5:30. So these storms, they're moving at about 30 to 40 miles per hour, but they're not really producing a lot of significant, at least movements past about 40 miles per hour. So at least a little bit more of a time 45 minutes or so with some of these thunderstorms as they do continue to move a little bit further east and slightly southeast as we get into this evening. So kind of take a look at the formation of these storms within the last hour or so, between about 4:40 and now. We're looking at those thunderstorms really starting to blossom up here in most of the area. So this is, I think, going to be the primary concern for a lot of Northeast Ohioans between now and the end of this evening, so after about 9, 10 o'clock, and then our front pushes through, and then once we get into the second half of this evening, I think things will quiet down for most of us by the end of this evening. So tornado threat is very low. I'm not anticipating a lot of tornadic development, but it is a non-zero chance. So there is at least a teeny tiny chance of something spinning back up. I think a lot of that actually occurs in Pennsylvania for the day-to-day, as there's a little bit more, at least, rotation in the atmosphere towards the east. But there's still some straight-line wind potential here in Northeast Ohio, and that can still cause some damage nonetheless. So some power outages will be a possibility this evening, and also that threat for some heavy rain could cause some localized flooding in a few locations. So still be weather aware. Yes, severe thunderstorm warnings, they're not as glamorous. They're not as, fancy as, say, a tornado warning, but still take them seriously, as lightning can definitely be a big danger. Heavy rain, and also some very strong winds out of some of these thunderstorms. We've had straight line winds several times in the last couple of months that caused some damage, lots of power outages, which is a good possibility yet again throughout the latter half of this afternoon into this evening. So certainly take these with a very, very concerned, at least thought this evening, as more of these storms are starting to pop back up over the next couple of hours. Allow me to grab a little swig of water here. So more of these storms are beginning to pop back up along parts of Northeast Ohio. Still not much, at least across our southern communities from Worcester towards Dover and Philly into at least Holmes County, but it will be starting to move a little bit further southward, so closer to maybe 6, 7, even 8 o'clock, the further south you are of the Route 30 corridor. So some at least chances of showers and storms will be on the way for the end of this evening. So let's see here. Solon. We've got that potential of some stronger storms just on your doorstep right now. You're kind of in the middle of two at least storms just to your east and just to your west. So we're looking at that storm potential kind of moving into parts of Solon from the western half of Cuyahoga County. So around the Brecksville area into Parma. I think that storm will start to move into Solon within the next 20 or so minutes at the very latest. So at least keep an eye on things. Some gusty winds, some heavy rain will be a possibility as that storm moves further and further eastward. Paynesville, not much to report on right now, but just to your north, there are a few more storms kind of popping up across Lake Erie, and you really haven't been touched by most of the storms to the south and east right now, so the threat is kind of there for maybe some of these storms to increase in intensity before they do kind of at least fade out a little bit towards the south, with some of these storms actively kind of gobbling up some of that instability and that energy here in Cuyahoga County. So I think along the lake shore, Route 2, I-90 into Ashtabula County. So right now, parts of Ashtabula, Lake, Geauga, and even in Trumbull County really has not seen much to really at least stabilize the atmosphere. So the chance is still there for some stronger storms between now and about 6, 7 o'clock. So definitely stay more weather aware in some of these areas as these storms will continue to move further southward from the at least northern half of Lake Erie. So we still have one little line that is kind of at least popping back up. It's not really impressive right now, but as it gets closer and closer to land, it may start to blossom back up again. So we might be talking some more severe thunderstorm warnings, especially in Ashtabula County and Lake County, as that's really not been the area of at least concern for the moment. Just to your south, a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings popping back up. Most of these for stronger winds. We've seen some heavy rain and certainly a lot of dense lightning in some of these thunderstorms as we get into the second half of this evening. We also have a little bit more of some stronger storms kind of moving into parts of Ashland and Mansfield. So a special weather statement is just below severe criteria. So 40, maybe 50-mile-per-hour gusts with some of these storms, but not quite as intense as it is with the severe thunderstorm warning throughout the afternoon today. Mr. McGill, what can I do for you? Just looking. A lot of these storms kind of popping up well ahead of the main line right now. So our front kind of pushing into central Lake Erie right now. So I think Ashtabula, Lake County, probably the better bet of seeing some thunderstorm activity with the actual front itself. And I've seen 40, 50-mile-per-hour gusts in some of these storms right now. Not too much at least consistency with the severe thunderstorm warnings. Okay, come on, computer. There we go. So let's check a look at our, because these are moving about 40 miles an hour east. So let's see here if we got a couple. Let's turn off the lightning here. Let's see here. So yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of strongest winds, but there is some wind aloft. That will definitely be a potential for kind of moving further south, bringing a little bit more of those stronger winds aloft. So 50, 60 mile per hour winds exist a few thousand feet up, and as these storms kind of increase in height, they can tap into some of those stronger winds well into the upper part of the atmosphere, and then they bring them down as form as straight line winds. So that's what we're mostly concerned with between now and the end of this evening. So a lot of these storms will be at least producing some stronger winds for the next couple of hours before our front slowly makes its way through parts of northeast Ohio. Alexis, excuse me. Let's see, Wadsworth. Oh my goodness, my computer is just not wanting to work with me right now. Sorry about that. Let's head down to Wadsworth. Let's see here. And I do have to remember where Wadsworth is. Pardon me, my humblest apologies. I don't remember all of my geography here in northeast Ohio, despite me actually growing up here. Sometimes mine just goes blank. Okay, Wadsworth. Okay, you're in parts of... Okay, yep. So let's see here. So you're looking at a little bit of a thunderstorm just to your north. The threat is there for some heavy rain, kind of pushing just to your north and east right now. You're kind of on the fringe of that severe thunderstorm, but I'm not anticipating a lot of severe weather for the time being. So, but the threat is there towards your north and west, so closer to Litchfield and to at least the central half of at least Medina County. The threat is kind of moving further south, so you'll definitely at least need to stay a little bit more weather aware. Some storms will be on the way for the end of this afternoon into this evening, but the at least main focus right now is not too much of a concern for the end of the 4 o'clock hour as we start off the 5 o'clock hour right now. Christina, thank you very much for watching. We love to have you guys from Massillon, and we're hopefully going to keep everyone safe as we get into the end of this evening. Hail, I'm not seeing a lot of threat for some hail. I know we've seen some definite hail storms in the last several months, but hail does not look to be a prime concern for this afternoon into this evening. Mansfield, yeah, definitely want to get shelter in place as our storms are making their way back into parts of Richland County right now. So the threat is just to your north and west. You're not necessarily under severe thunderstorm warning. We have that special weather statement, and that means we potentially could see 40, maybe 50 mile per hour gusts as these storms kind of slide further south and eastward, with more of that rain being a primary concern, along with some very, at least frequent lightning, also a big concern as well. So we don't want to have anyone outside with lightning starting to make its way back into parts of Mansfield and Ashland within the next couple of hours. Ashtabula now under a severe thunderstorm warning till about 6 o'clock this evening. Let's see here if we got any new information on that thunderstorm right now. Okay, let's see here. So up to about 60 mile per hour winds, a possibility as this storm is moving southeast at about 40 miles per hour. So still a lot of it actually over the lake as we get into the afternoon and early evening time frame, but it is slowly making its way southward. And there are some flood advisories in through parts of Erie County. They've really been inundated across Pennsylvania for the last several hours. So still a potential of maybe some minor flooding issues with some of these storms as we do move further and further into this evening. But certainly a lot more heavy rain going to be a possibility for some areas throughout the next couple of hours. Okay, let's see here. Parma, definitely looking at some more thunder activity. We're moving into the 5 o'clock hour. So most of Parma not looking as rainy as it was earlier this evening, but definitely some threats still around the area. So don't head out. You're still within reach of some of these lightning strikes here in central parts of Cuyahoga County late this afternoon. Macedonia raining in cats and dogs. Hopefully there's no poodles to step in. Yeah, I know. I'm a dad. I can tell those bad jokes. Let's see. Yeah, Macedonia going to be probably inundated within the next few minutes here, if not already. And Twinsburg probably going to be seeing some more of those raindrops, even into Hudson, towards Streetsboro, Sugar Bush Knolls. Some very heavy downpours right now, a little bit of frequent lightning consistently. But thankfully, we're not really seeing too much more than that as we get into this evening. Let's see here. Akron, starting to see a little bit more of those thunderstorms on the northern edge of parts of Akron around Cuyahoga Falls. Not necessarily a severe thunderstorm warning right now, but the threat is still there for some rain and some frequent lightning. So just kind of take it easy if you're going to be traveling across parts of I-77 into the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. A little bit more of those severe thunderstorm warnings for the next 10 or so minutes for parts of Lorain and into Cuyahoga County, also into Portage County. We have that one from Medina County through about 5:30. So hopefully within the next half hour, 45 minutes or so, we'll actually see a lot of these fade out as far as any warnings. But we do have that one in Ashtabula County, which is at least set to expire closer to 6 as we get into this evening. So yeah, only severe thunderstorm watch in play right now here in northeast Ohio. East Lake also looking at that potential for some thunder activity within the next half hour, 45 minutes. You're just offshore of the East Lake area around parts of Lake County, down into Willowick, Elyria, and also into Euclid. Elyria is in Lorain County, excuse me. So Euclid, Richmond Heights, towards the Chesterland area. This really hasn't been touched by many storms, so these might be a little bit more aggressive as they make landfall, so to speak, within the next half hour to an hour here in northeast Ohio. So that's what the storms over the lake are kind of doing right now. They're starting to at least combine into more of a formed line rather than just kind of some broken storms within the last couple of hours. And we do have another severe thunderstorm warning just issued for Portage County, also including parts of Summit County. And that one goes through about 6 p.m. as well. So more of these storms are kind of moving further southward into areas that really have not seen a lot of significant rain so far this evening. So the threat is going to be increasing with these storms as they do move further and further south and eastward. So let's take a look at some of these potential rumbles of thunder into this evening. So let's see here. Okay, let's see if any more of these updates kind of popping in. So yeah, basically we're looking at some heavy rain between about 50 and 60 mile per hour winds here in parts of the northern half of Summit County into Portage County. So just on the fringe of at least the Summit County, Wayne County line, and I do anticipate more of these storms to push further southward into that region within the next hour or so. So northern Stark County into at least Wayne County, you're next in the docket as we get into the next hour or so. So between now and about 6 o'clock, we'll probably be talking more of those storms with these actual, at least storms pushing further south and eastward right now. So a lot of these storms are starting to push a little bit further into the central half of our viewing area right now. We still have a little bit more of those active storms in Richland County, but not quite to severe criteria at the moment. So we have that special weather statement. A lot of lightning right now, some heavy downpours a possibility, but the wind gusts maybe only 40 miles per hour with some of these storms rather than closer to 60 with the actual severe thunderstorm warning late this afternoon and early evening. So the main focus for strong severe storms kind of happening in our northeastern quadrants up towards Ashtabula with that severe thunderstorm warning all the way from parts of Youngstown into Akron around the I-76 corridor. Probably a slow go for many folks, and we're starting to see a little bit of relief here in downtown Cleveland. I've not heard any rain necessarily here at the station, so we haven't quite seen those storms just yet here in downtown Cleveland. So the further south of at least the I-480 corridor, the better chance of seeing storms so far this afternoon. So close to Westlake, North Olmsted, Parma, into the eastern half around Solon, just to the north of at least Boston. Some very heavy downpours, a lot of frequent lightning, and some very gusty winds associated with this severe thunderstorm warning, which is set to expire within the next 10 minutes or so. So hopefully we're going to get a lot of these storms out of here in time for some baseball this evening. But we still have our fronts situated to our north throughout the next couple of hours. That will slowly make its way through. So let's take a look at kind of where our storms are here in northeast Ohio compared to where the front is. So our cold fronts just now kind of making an appearance across southern Michigan into northern Indiana, where a lot of those storms are starting to fire up. A little bit less, at least potential of some severe weather right now, especially with a lot of the storms well ahead of the main line. But we have a lot of severe thunderstorm watches. Those yellow boxes includes most of Pennsylvania and most of northeast Ohio until about 9 o'clock this afternoon and early evening. So the storms kind of moving further south very slowly this afternoon. And we're talking a little bit more stronger winds with some of these storms as we get into the next couple of hours. So a lot of these storms slowly chugging to the south and slightly east within the next half hour or so. Bucyrus, Tracy, we got some storms just outside of at least the Bucyrus area. Actually inundating Bucyrus, I should say, and not really under any severe thunderstorm warning, but we have at least special weather statement, which will include some heavy rain, some frequent lightning, and definitely some gusty winds, maybe up to about 40, perhaps even 50 miles per hour. So take it seriously. It's going to be a little bit more of a rocky end to the afternoon and early evening, but these storms are certainly going to be at least fading out once we get closer to sunset this evening for most areas as our front slowly makes its way from the north to the south, I think between now and about 9, 10 o'clock tonight. So we're not dealing with an all-night affair by any stretch, but the threat is there for some showers and some thunderstorms for the next couple of hours. So Ashtabula, yeah, we're going to see those thunderstorms kind of moving in over the next half hour or so. We have that severe thunderstorm warning until about 6 o'clock for the northern half of Ashtabula County for this line that is slowly making its way in from the Central Lake Basin into northern parts of Ashtabula County. So stronger winds will be a definite concern with the actual storm moving back in, but you're not really seeing too much right now. Probably maybe hearing some thunder if you're closer to Conneaut, Saybrook, also into North Kingsville as that line slowly makes its way southward. And we'll take a little bit of a sample as far as winds. So we're looking at maybe some pockets, maybe 30 to 40 mile per hour winds just offshore, but this is pretty far away from the radar, so this might be kind of undercutting some of those wind gusts by far. So we might be closer to 40, perhaps even 50 mile per hour gusts, if not stronger, with the actual line of storms moving back in this afternoon.
Need anything?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
So.
Chase, we're going to try to figure out how to get my stream into you.
Okay.
To call me up.
Okay.
We should be able to just like a chat.
Okay.
Should be working.
Sounds great. Yep, I'll have my earpiece in, so we'll be able to chat and we'll be able to figure it out. So, sounds good. All right, so we got some storms pushing back into parts of Ashtabula County within the next half hour or so, and then a lot of storms still inundating most of the central half of Cuyahoga County towards the central half of at least Akron, and still some showers and storms in through Medina County right now, which is still causing some concern with a lot more of that lightning and thunder. But we do have at least another few minutes on that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Cuyahoga County into Portage County. Things are starting to improve a little bit more there, but where areas have not been touched necessarily. So kind of this area from Euclid towards the Chardon area, Paynesville, certainly Ashtabula under that warning right now. But this kind of section has not really been seeing a lot of rain necessarily. So the atmosphere probably still a little bit more susceptible to maybe some stronger winds and certainly maybe a few more severe thunderstorm warnings as we get into the next hour or so as the main front kind of sags further southward into northeast Ohio. So the areas where you've seen a lot of rain kind of helping stabilize the atmosphere right now. So that is actually some good news for folks further inland of the lakeshore this afternoon and early evening. So yeah, these storms, they're moving at about 40 miles per hour, kind of east and slightly southeast, as the winds aloft are moving more towards the east, but the surface winds are pushing them a little bit further south. So the potential is there for a little bit more movement towards the east at times, but most of the rain will kind of push further southward for the next couple of hours this evening. So a lot of those storms are at least continuing to bring some heavy downpours, along with some very, at least, frequent lightning here in through the area. Let's take a look at some of those tower cams if we can get a few seconds here. Let's see here. So our cam here in Greater Cleveland showing just some cloud cover, not necessarily a lot of rain here in the city per se. Most of it's actually happened further south. And let's take a look at our camera in Akron this afternoon. Let's see here. Where is that camera? So this is downtown Akron right now. Yeah, a lot of heavy, significant rain falling across downtown Akron right now, and that's where most of the rain is kind of concentrating more towards the south in and around the I-76 corridor and perhaps around at least parts of I-480 and points southward at this time. So let's see, heavy rain now in Brunswick. Yeah, we're looking at a lot of those heavy raindrops making an appearance in Medina County right now. So these storms kind of making their way further south. So a lot of those showers and storms really impacting Brunswick into Richfield, Akron, as we mentioned. Certainly a very, very heavy downpour within the last half hour or so. And winds still a primary concern, 40, 50, maybe close to 60 miles per hour. But I think the frequent lightning and heavy rain is also going to be a big concern for the end of this afternoon, this evening. So Willoughby, up towards parts of Lake County. Yeah, within probably the next hour, we'll be talking some of those storms off the lake pushing back in. So they may actually increase in intensity for a little bit as the storms kind of interact with some of the instability here in parts of Lake County. So the threat will be, I think, on the increase within the next hour or so for most of Lake and northern Geauga County, and that kind of sliver of northeastern Cuyahoga County, which has not really seen any rain per se. And we'll be talking maybe some stronger winds as these storms move further southward into these areas that have been virtually untouched with these storms here in the latter half of the afternoon today. So yeah, Lake County certainly still on alert for severe thunderstorm potential late this afternoon and early evening. So where the storms have kind of fired up well ahead of the main line, that's actually kind of helping to stabilize the atmosphere, but we've not seen a lot in this little section of parts of northeast Ohio. So the Snowbelt area, probably still not out of the woods completely just yet, but I think most of at least Medina County into Summit, also into Trumbull County, a little bit better off with seeing these storms late this afternoon and early evening. All right, let's see here. Amanda, what is your question? I apologize. I'm getting hundreds and hundreds of comments. Sometimes it moves through. What's your question? I apologize. There's a lot going on during these streams, and we try to get to every question if we can, but a lot of folks putting in a lot of questions definitely makes a little bit more of a challenge to kind of get through some of these at least questions here this afternoon. So let's see here. How bad in Ashtabula? We have a severe thunderstorm warning for the northern half of the county, at least until about 6 o'clock for some gusty winds up to about 60 miles per hour. And we'll be talking some very heavy downpours with some of these storms as they do move into parts of Ashtabula County, also into Lake County. Certainly the potential for some stronger winds over the next couple of hours. All right. Let's see here. West side of Cleveland. Thank you very much. We're looking at those storms kind of at least moving further south. Still some lightning. At least visible in probably your skies. So we're not done with all the lightning just yet, and some of these at least thunderstorms off of Lake Erie will push further southward and perhaps bring a little bit more rain, perhaps some stronger winds yet again. So at least keep weather aware between now and about 7, even 8 o'clock before things quiet down completely here in the western half of the at least region of Greater Cleveland. Canton, thunderstorms will be on the way. Over the next hour or so, we're starting to see those thunderstorms impacting Akron into Portage County. So give it another hour or so before it does completely move in to most of northern Canton. So these are only moving at about 40 miles per hour. So think of the side road speed rather than your freeway speed. So if you're getting around to town about 35, 40 miles per hour, it may take you a little bit longer to get into your destination. So a lot of those storms, they're moving a little faster than others, but most of the region not really seeing a lot of speed demons with these thunderstorms moving at about 40 miles per hour. So it'll probably take another hour before it gets all the way into parts of Canton this afternoon. Non-stop rolling thunder in Parma. Yeah, still a lot of that, but most of the rain kind of pushing further south, and there no longer is a severe thunderstorm warning for Cuyahoga County right now. So that is some good news. Most of the severe winds have pushed further southward, but we still have that line to contend with across the northern half of Lake Erie right now. So the potential will be increasing later this afternoon. Really dark in West Salem. Yeah, you're starting to see a lot more of those storms just kind of moving in to at least parts of West Salem right now. So to your north and west towards the Sullivan area and around Homer, the threat for more rain, but there's not a lot of lightning with this, and there's no severe thunderstorm warning per se. Just on your doorstep, we have a special weather statement, which is just shy of severe criteria, but something you really don't want to at least being at least out and about with these potential thunderstorms this afternoon. Mansfield, yeah, still looking at a lot of severe potential as far as our northeastern half of Richland County. Looking at that threat for some heavy downpours, especially just to your west of Mansfield. So some gusty winds will be a good threat for the next couple of hours, and we'll be looking at some heavy downpours with some frequent lightning as these storms kind of push further east and slightly southeast within the next hour or so. So definitely keep in mind, we'll probably have some at least inclement weather to contend with, but all the severe thunderstorm warnings are kind of confined to the north and east of I-76. So with the exception of Medina County, still under that warning for the next 10 or so minutes. And we still have a few more severe thunderstorm warnings across parts of Akron, Portage County, and Ashtabula County. Just now kind of seeing some of those storms pushing back into the at least region right now. Candace, not looking very much. We'll be talking a very, very teeny tiny chance of anything becoming tornadic. We're still dealing with some gusty winds as being the primary concern, but we can never say never with Mother Nature. But there's a very small chance of anything becoming a little bit tornadic here in the area throughout the afternoon into this evening. East side, Lyndhurst area, right now you've not seen much around Lyndhurst, South Euclid, Gates Mills, and that is kind of at least a little bit more bad news as these storms along the lake are slowly moving into an area that really hasn't been touched by at least any rain so far today. So the threat, I think, is still there for some stronger storms. There's not a lot of concern at the moment. So between now and about 6, maybe closer to 6:15, those storms will start to move in, and that does include actually downtown Cleveland, parts of Westlake. If you've not seen any real rain for the last couple of hours, we're still looking at some instability to work with, so that threat will still be there for at least the next hour or so with some of these thunderstorms moving into areas that still have a little bit more of that instability to work with. So some severe thunderstorm warnings still in place for Ashtabula. You're just kind of now seeing the storm making landfall, so to speak, along the lake shore of Ashtabula. So I'm certain, hopefully everyone, at least in the general vicinity of Conneaut towards Ashtabula, is indoors and no one's actually on the shoreline right now, because I'm certain there's probably a good lightning display, especially just to the north of Conneaut with this actual thunderstorm pushing in. This is a longer segment of storms that are moving along the lake shore right now, and still a few more at least stronger storms to the south and west, with more a lightning threat and some heavy downpours with some gusty winds for the end of this evening throughout the next couple of hours. So let's see here. Crawford County, we're looking at those thunderstorms kind of pushing in. There's not anything as far as severe weather across Crawford County right now, but there is a lot of lightning, certainly a lot of potential of some heavy downpours. Winds maybe getting close to 50 miles per hour with some of these storms in our western communities, but we're not necessarily going to be talking a lot of those threats for at least a long severe thunderstorm threats with some of these at the moment. So we're certainly a little bit less, at least better off with these thunderstorms that are starting to make its way through. Good question. Wildfire smoke is a possibility, especially when the winds shift more towards the south today. We could be talking some more potential of at least the threats of some at least mild smoke once we get into the day tomorrow, as potential still is there here at the surface. So let's take a look at some of the smoke concerns within the next couple of days. So right now, no smoke to really concern ourselves with, but late tonight, the potential is there, but you'll notice it's not a lot of dense smoke, but we'll definitely probably see some of it, maybe smell some of that smoke again for the day on Sunday as the winds kind of shift from the southwest today more towards the north and northwest later this afternoon into this evening. So let's see, Storm Tracker, we'll get them set. Okay. And so, yeah, the threat is still kind of there for more of this, at least smoke on Sunday, but it's not going to be as dense, and hopefully at least air quality will not be as bad as it certainly was for the middle part of this week. And we'll be talking at least a little bit of that smoke throughout Sunday and maybe into early Monday for some areas this afternoon and this evening. So a lot of those at least smoke concerns yet again for the start of the new week. But right now we have a lot of concern with that threat of some stronger storms here in northeast Ohio. Still some severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of the at least Medina area, including parts of at least Brunswick, all the way down to Canton, at least northern parts of Canton under the at least severe potential for the end of this afternoon and early evening. But these storms, they're slowly moving further southward. So a lot of these storms, about 40, maybe 35 miles an hour at most, with some of these storms moving. All right. Let's see here. Lakewood, I think we'll start to see a little bit more thunderstorm potential between now and about 6 o'clock. But I think once we get past about 7, maybe 8 o'clock at the very latest, we'll start to see some drier weather, still a little bit more gusty winds, and there might be still a few rumbles of thunder to contend with by about 7:30. But I think most of the greater Cleveland area kind of out of the woods with regards to that threat of at least some more at least thunderstorms later this evening. Let's see here. Parma looking a little bit better right now. We'll potentially see that threat for a few more rumbles of thunder, some gusty winds with this line of storms, which is slowly making its way further southward as we get into this evening. So let's see here. Anybody in master control can hear me? Let's see here. We got some sunshine right now in Lakewood, but probably short-lived, unfortunately, as those storms are starting to make their way further south along parts of at least the shoreline. We're really starting to see impacts now in Ashtabula County, now into probably northeastern Lake County, and also potential for some storms along Lorain towards greater Cleveland into northeastern parts of Cuyahoga County between now and about 7 o'clock tonight. So more of those storms will be at least a possibility. Hopkins, right now we're quieting down a little bit, but we still have this big line of thunderstorms to contend with along the lake shore. So this is the actual line that we're going to have to at least worry about for the next couple of hours. But once that line passes through, we'll start to dry out again, and we'll certainly be a little bit quieter for the rest of this evening once the actual front makes its way through most of the area by about 9, 10 o'clock at the very latest this evening. So the potential is still there for some severe weather throughout the next couple of hours. Let's see here. Barely anything in Akron. What part of Akron are you in? Because there's a lot more rain certainly on the way for most of at least northern parts of Summit County, and that will continue to move further southward. So, yeah, definitely a lot more rain on the way for most of central parts of Summit County within the next half hour or so. So the heavy rain will become a bit more of a threat within the next half hour into 20 minutes. Let's see here. About a quarter inch within the at least Elyria area. I would not doubt that for a second. Some of those heavier downpours were coming down at a pretty good clip throughout the next 24 hours. We'll probably see maybe a half an inch to maybe 3/4 in a couple locations before all said and done throughout the second half of this evening with some of these thunderstorms that are starting to move through. Cuyahoga Falls, we're looking at some more rain right now, some very heavy rain and some definite frequent lightning and some very gusty winds. My goodness, we are looking at those, see those at least wind gusts potentially up to, my goodness, up to about 67 miles per hour. That is not good news. That is your heavy, at least downburst potential of about 50 to 60 miles per hour. Let's go back a little bit right now and see where those winds were just a few seconds ago. So, yeah, that threat was definitely increasing for some very strong winds around the Stowe area, north of Talmadge, around Cuyahoga Falls. So there could be some damage in some of these locations with that very, very potent, nearly 65 to near 70 mile per hour wind with that downburst within the last 10 or so minutes. So the potential is there for 6, 7. There you go. I did it. Everyone younger than me probably is commenting, so there you go. Yeah, 67 mile per hour gust here in northeast Ohio, potentially around Stowe, Cuyahoga Falls, and Talmadge. So there might be some damage. If anyone in that area, if you have any damage, some tree limbs, maybe your power has gone out in the last 5 or so minutes, let me know so we can get that out to some at least folks that will be known for. We got some power flickering going on in Cuyahoga Falls right now. Would not doubt that for a second. Akron, we got some heavy downpours with a lot more of those stronger winds starting to make an appearance right now. So the winds are definitely increasing for some of these stronger storms through the latter half of this evening, and the rain is really coming down across Brunswick into Hudson, Cuyahoga Falls, into parts of at least south of Ravenna right now. So the winds are really starting to pick up in at least intensity in some of these locations for the next hour or so. Power flickered in Akron, but has not gone out completely. That is some good news, but I think right around at least northern parts of Cuyahoga Falls through parts of at least the southern half of Hudson, that's where the main focus for a lot of those damaging winds potentially could have been within the last 5 or so minutes. So we've got some trees potentially going down, perhaps even some power outages within the last half hour in some of these storms here in northeast Ohio. So let's kind of get an update here. Let's see here. So still a severe thunderstorm warning for Trumbull County until about 5:30, which is hopefully set to expire very shortly here. So a lot of these storms are starting to move out of the northern half of the counties. Still a little bit more of that line pushing in to parts of the shoreline right now. So we're not completely out of the woods just yet, but the only main concern right now for maybe some more damaging wind potential is going to be around the Talmadge area, Stowe, Cuyahoga Falls, and kind of in that triangle area for some very damaging wind potential of between about 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour. This is the only thing I'm really starting to notice for the damaging wind potential, at least going on right now in parts of Summit County, just to the south of Hudson, and just to the north of at least the downtown Akron area. So right around that Route 8 corridor, from Hudson all the way down into Cuyahoga Falls, and also at least northern parts of Akron. So a lot more of those very strong winds potentially there late this afternoon into this evening. So as far as anything else, a big concern right now, we still have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. Right now, still that one across Ashtabula County, which is now finally making an appearance across Conneaut into North Kingsville, Ashtabula, Geneva on the Lake, and into Saybrook, Madison Beach, Buena Vista Beach, not quite into Fairport Harbor, but I'm certain probably folks are noticing some lightning, some heavy rain just offshore here in northeast Ohio. Let's see here. Yes, we do look at our YouTube chat, but folks, I'm getting hundreds of comments, so I cannot answer them all. They all kind of form within one section, so I try to get to as many as possible. I apologize, but there's a lot of at least comments that are slowly making their way into at least our system. So right now we are looking at that potential of some at least storms around the Ashtabula area, Kent. Not really showing a lot of at least threats right now. Let's see into the central half of Portage County, so at least the Bainbridge area. Not too many concerns, but there is that severe thunderstorm warning in place for the southern half of at least Portage County till about 6 o'clock this afternoon into the next half hour or so. And those winds just south of Kent are looking to be the strongest at the moment. So let's kind of get a sample on some of those stronger winds here in the western half of at least Portage County. Let's see here. So that potential of nearly 70 mile per hour gusts with some of these storms. So Kent not really showing a lot of those stronger winds, but definitely at least very close in nature for some of those stronger winds in excess of 60 miles per hour possibility within the next 10 or so minutes. Now moving further south into parts of Bunkers Corners, Brimfield. Let's kind of get a track on some of these storms as they're moving further south into at least the next half hour at about 40 miles per hour. So let's see here. Oops. probably need to zoom out a little bit. There we go. So within the next half hour, we've got Brady Lake potentially there, also into Brimfield, Rootstown, Atwater. There could be some stronger winds even into central parts of at least Randolph. So definitely keep in mind the very strong winds are moving further south and eastward right now. So that is definitely a big threat for the end of the 5 o'clock hour here in northeast Ohio. Tornadic development is very minimal. We're not anticipating a big event with regards to tornadoes, but the threat is not zero, unfortunately. So we could potentially see a spin up, but I think a lot of that is actually going to be occurring more in Pennsylvania, where the atmosphere is a little bit more susceptible to at least rotation. Stronger winds are going to be the bigger concern with a lot of these storms as we get into the latter half of the day today, with obviously right now the biggest wind just south of Kent, around Talmadge, just south and east of Stowe. Let's see if we can get any streets kind of popping in here. Let's see here. So Brimfield Station up towards Fish Creek, Six Corners, kind of on the doorstep of Brimfield right now. Can I? Sorry. Yes. Okay. Trent is able to talk. Okay. Is there any way to get his into my ear?
I will try.
Okay. Because I've got my IFB in right now. So Trent's out in the field. We can get him. Okay, so the strongest winds kind of confined right now to at least the southern half of at least the Fish Creek area towards Six Corners, Talmadge, probably looking at some 60-mile-per-hour gusts for the end of this 5 o'clock hour right now. So 66-mile-per-hour gusts, that is definitely well above the criteria of severe weather here in at least the central half of Summit County right now. So be inside. If you know anyone out in that area, definitely give them heads up, as these storms are not joking around with that severe thunderstorm warning still in play until about 6 o'clock this evening.
There's not pull-up storm tracker in Stream.
Oh, okay. Pull him up into StreamYard. Let's get, let's see, Trent. Okay, he is now out in Storm Tracker right now. Can he hear me at all?
I can hear you, Phil. Can you hear me?
Let's see.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear me. I cannot hear you, sir.
All right. Well, then that's a bummer. I'll go ahead and just turn this around so you guys can look out the front window. Hello, Phil.
Okay. But I'm getting notice that everyone's been able to hear him. Excellent.
You guys can hear me, right? All right, cool. If you guys can hear me, then I'll just tell you what we're doing here. I know Phil can't hear me, but I know everybody at home can. We are in Storm Tracker, and we are headed down 271 now, 271 southbound. I know Phil was just talking about that thunderstorm that's rolling through Stark County, like into Cuyahoga Falls near the Hudson area. And he's got the radar behind him right now because I can see his stream. Just know that we're headed that way with those winds. The estimates out there of over 65, 70 miles per hour. That's probably going to knock some trees down. We were headed out east to see that line that was coming in. So now we're headed south, kind of took a little curve, a little curveball. So we're going to go look for some damage right now because honestly, that stuff coming over the lake into our, like the snow belt essentially, even though it's not winter, that's the area where I think things
I cannot hear Trent.
fall apart. Phil's going to. Oh, he's on my phone. Good stuff. So he can't hear me. Either way, so what we're going to do is we're going to head south now on 271. We are headed toward Summit County, and we're going to try to look for some damage, try to get you guys some eyes on what's really happening with these thunderstorms. So, Phil, you can take it over from here, man.
Okay, but he is being able to hear everyone on the stream. Okay, so he wants me to take over. Very nice. Thank you very much, Trent. Lots and lots of at least exciting things going on with our stream. First time we're actually having someone in our Storm Tracker invited into our stream this afternoon. So yeah, leaps and bounds with our technology. Still trying to figure out how to let me hear him. So a lot of these storms right now pushing into parts of at least northeast Ohio. And a lot of those warnings now pushing further south of Mansfield. So we have one warning just kind of issued within the last 10 or so minutes for southern parts of Richland County till about 6:30 as this line kind of at least intensifying a little bit within the last half hour or so as it does move further southward. So a lot of lightning, some very heavy rain, and some gustier winds leading to a bit more of that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of at least southern Richland County, also into southern Ashland County. Still one severe thunderstorm warning of big concern right now. We've seen a lot of those, at least stronger winds associated with this storm, which is now slowly making its way southward within the last 10 or so minutes. So let's take the lightning off here, kind of give you an update as to where the strongest winds are right around Bunkers Corners into at least the Brimfield area right now. Yes? Okay, I've got you off the screen right now, so if anything pops up, let me know. Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Bye. So still have to use a cell phone sometimes when technology is not quite ready just yet, but we do have a lot of at least some stronger winds with this storm right around the Brimfield area, Bunkers Corners, over 60 miles per hour. So this could potentially be causing some damages. Maybe some power outages essentially just to the south of downtown Kent. This is the big focal point for the strongest winds that I can particularly see throughout the latter half of this afternoon. So these storms are going to be a bit more of at least an issue within the next half hour for parts of at least the Five Corners area into maybe even Randolph within the next half hour. So folks, in the path of this, really starting to show some stronger winds to the south of at least the Kent area, and that's where the big focus for maybe some damages from some trees and perhaps some power outages, a possibility here in the next half hour across parts of Portage County right now. So let's kind of clear that out. So that has officially just gone kaput. So that is some good news there. Let's kind of rewind. So those stronger winds, yeah, I think that was definitely some very strong damaging winds, but a lot of that thankfully now looks to be at least gone for the time being. So the threat is kind of minimalized at the moment. Let's take a look at some of those at least. So yeah, that was probably a microburst or macroburst, depending on how long and how big the actual burst from the cloud was. So that was the only real big threat for some very damaging winds. Nearly 70 miles per hour earlier this afternoon within the last half hour of some very damaging winds. So right now, still a little bit of rain along the lake shore. This is our main, at least, attraction for some, at least, funnel concerns as it does move further south in northeast Ohio. So Cleveland, Westlake, up towards about Euclid, we'll definitely see the threat for some rain. Some severe storms, still a possibility around Ashtabula County. And we'll be talking more of those storms here within the next hour or so for parts of our southern communities, as we still have that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of at least central and southern Richland County until about 6:30, and then also that threat for more of those stronger winds around the Ravenna area and also into Portage County as we get into the next half hour or so. So let's take a look here. We're not looking at anything necessarily worrisome. Maybe some stronger winds out there, and definitely some very, very gusty winds reported with this storm within the last hour. Let's take a look at the lightning. Still a lot of strong lightning concern, especially with this storm towards the south of Mansfield, and still some lightning concerns around the Aurora area into Cuyahoga Falls, right around the Hudson area. So pretty much a light show going on late this afternoon for most of central, at least Summit County, into parts of Portage County throughout the latter half of the 5 o'clock hour. Hopefully we'll get more of these out of here within the next 20 or so minutes. And let's see here. Mansfield, we're looking at some storms, at least on the stronger side just to the south of downtown. A lot of those severe thunderstorm warnings do include the Mansfield area. That goes to about 6:30 this evening. A lot of lightning. My goodness, over 275 lightning strikes within this frame alone, nearly 280. So yeah, the atmosphere is certainly going to be a lot more active over the next half hour to 45 minutes in through parts of Mansfield and Ashland especially, and some gusty winds will be a big concern with these storms as we do move into the latter half of the afternoon and early evening. Okay, let's see here. You rang?
Yeah, just keep me on speakerphone.
Okay. 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 Getting close to 5:45 right now, so a lot of those storms, at least in our northeastern communities, hopefully being close to being expired here in at least the, let's see, Portage area goes up till about 6 o'clock, and then also into Summit County. So hopefully those storms will be set to expire within the next 15 or so minutes, as well as the Ashtabula storm. So most of these storms set to expire within the next 15 or so minutes, as we're looking at these severe thunderstorm warnings, hopefully getting out of here very quickly. Cleveland area and points westward, we still have our fronts off the lake right now, and still some rain, but it's not really showing a lot of intensity per se. But if it does start to intensify, it probably will happen as it gets closer and closer to land. So greater Cleveland, Westlake, even into parts of Lorain, where we really haven't seen much in the way of active weather so far this afternoon, could potentially see some gustier winds, some heavy rain, and a bit more of that frequent lightning with these storms as we get into the next hour or so, as these storms are slowly making their way from Lake Erie onto the shore here in greater Cleveland. Not really showing a lot of intensity per se, which is some good news, but there's still a decent amount of instability that really hasn't been tapped yet along the lake shore, so the threat is still kind of there for some stronger winds as this front pushes back in here in northeast Ohio. So more of these storms pushing further south now into northern parts of Stark County. No official warning just yet around Hartville into Lexington, but definitely want to get indoors with these storms as they are moving further southward. And we've had a history of producing 60 to maybe 70 mile per hour winds with some of these storms just about a half hour ago in through parts of at least Portage County. So this may produce a bit more of those stronger storms into northern parts of Stark County within the next half hour to 45 minutes. So a lot of concern will still be at least a concern for the next half hour into the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour. So we have one severe thunderstorm warning expiring a little bit sooner than anticipated, so that's some good news. The only warning we have right now for Portage County and the eastern half of Summit County goes to about 6 o'clock, and then also that warning up towards Ashtabula County still goes to about 6 o'clock this evening as well. So some good news. We have one warning pop out earlier than anticipated, and we still have a couple of at least stronger winds associated with the warning towards the south of Mansfield right now. So Mansfield, at least the region around central Richland County, and points south, the worst of that storm, which is moving further south and eastward here in through the Mansfield area this evening. So let's take a look. Hello, yes, I got you. Yep.
All right, Phil, we are, like I said a little bit ago, we're headed toward like the Cuyahoga Falls area.
Okay.
I'm scrolling through the chat, through the chat on your
Okay.
If anybody has reports of damage or anything like that, let me know. Let me know where you're seeing it down there because we're kind of flying it down there, just trying to look at the radar. All the storms around Cuyahoga Falls and along that Route 8 corridor right there are pretty much gone. Like you're talking about, kind of be all clear.
Yeah.
But as far as damage is concerned, that's really what I'm looking for now. Because that line to the north over the lake, like you've been talking about, like you've been saying, I think that kind of fades away a bit on the heels of this line.
Yeah, yep.
We're not going to really look for showing a whole lot of intense rainfall right now. Just not a good spot for it, to be honest with you. So we're going to look for damage.
Okay, yeah, Cuyahoga Falls, I got you up on the chat right now, so you can definitely start talking because I've got you up.
Cool, thank you, man.
And we just had a new severe thunderstorm warning just issued for northern parts of Stark County till about 6:45. That does include parts of Wayne County around Oroville into Canaan. And that goes to about 6:45 this evening. Warning for Portage County still in play until about 6 o'clock around at least the central half of Ravenna. Certainly seeing some heavier downpours right now and a lot more frequent lightning a possibility with this storm in the last half hour or so. And then we have that warning now issued for parts of Youngstown around Boardman. That goes to about 6:15 as well. So a lot of these warnings continue to push further southward as we get into the latter half of the 5 o'clock hour, getting closer and closer to 6. And let's see here. Oh, come on, mouse, why are you not working? There we go. Okay. So let's take the lightning off once again and take a look at some of the vorticity, and not really showing a lot of intense winds per se. Probably close to 40, 50 miles per hour in a couple locations, so that is some good news, but we definitely had a bullseye earlier. So if you have any at least damage around the Cuyahoga Falls area south of Kent, definitely let us know in the chat so we can actually see some of the damage in through those areas as Trent's moving further south into Summit County this afternoon in Storm Tracker to kind of take a look at what that potentially could have done this afternoon in through parts of Summit County. So the winds are still pretty potent. We're still looking at 40, maybe 50 mile per hour gusts, but we saw an earlier gust of potentially up to about 60, 70 miles per hour within the last couple of hours, especially just to the south of Hudson. That started off with into Stowe and kind of faded out once it got past the central half of Portage County. So this was about 10, 15 minutes ago as that system moved further south into the southern parts of the Ravenna area, and thankfully did not really show much more intensification, but we still have a severe thunderstorm warning for most of Stark County and also into Wayne County for the next almost hour. So we'll be talking some stronger winds, some very heavy rains, and maybe some more frequent lightning over the next couple of hours as these storms move slowly further and south as we get into this evening. But the line itself along Lake Erie, not really showing a lot of intensification per se with this at least rain and lightning kind of at least fading out as we get closer and closer to 6 o'clock. So that is some good news. Not anticipating a lot of big concern with the actual front itself as these storms ahead of it have kind of pushed in and kind of stuck around a little bit too much longer than the actual front pushing in. So that kind of zapped a lot of that instability here in northeast Ohio this afternoon and early evening. But still some threats for some damaging winds, some at least very heavy rain and some very frequent lightning with some of these storms here in northeast Ohio. So let's take a look at some rainfall totals within the last couple of hours. Not really showing a lot of bullseyes per se of some very heavy rains. So that is some good news, but still maybe almost 3/4 of an inch in a couple locations for some of those darker green shadings. A lot of this is under about a 1/2 inch so far, but there could be potentially about a 1/2 inch to nearly 3/4, maybe close to an inch in a few locations with some of these heavy downpours within the last half hour. So definitely a lot more of these heavy rains causing concern right now, but thankfully this will not be an all evening affair as these storms are pushing further and south and eastward here in northeast Ohio. So we still have our fronts to the north, kind of moving across parts of at least the Paynesville area Not a lot of concern, thankfully, around Fairport Harbor along the lakeshore in Menor, but still some rain potential across parts of at least northern Cleveland within the next half hour as this continues to sag further southward, so that may impact the Guardians a little bit if we don't see this until about 6:15, 6:30. So a lot of these storms are at least fading as we get into the evening along Lake Erie right now. As far as Massillon, Jenny, we are looking at those storms starting to make an appearance in through northern Stark County right now. So within the next 15, maybe 20 minutes, you'll really start to see some rain and maybe some heavier, at least rain potential as this storm slowly makes its way further southward. So along Massillon towards central Canton, even into Louisville, even into Paris. I think probably within the next 15, 20 or so minutes, we'll start to see more of these raindrops pushing further south and eastward for parts of at least the actual storm moves out of here. Severe thunderstorm warning for Worcester, close to Shreve. We still have that warning right now, just to the north and east of Worcester, and that goes until about 6:45 this afternoon. And just some heavy rain looks to be the primary concern, with some gusty winds, maybe in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour with some of these wind gusts. And we're still looking at those winds. Yeah, the radar is really not close to this, unfortunately. So not really showing a lot of at least strength with those winds per se. But there could be some 50 to 60 mile per hour winds with some of these storms that are moving into at least Wayne County late this afternoon. So a lot of these storms are starting to at least show some instability. And also, did my IFB just die on me? And I think it did. Nope. Hello. Anybody back there can hear me? Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay, I just unplugged it for a second. Sorry about that. Chardon, I think a lot of that northern part of at least the viewing area not looking too bad. Not really showing a lot of rain per se in Chardon, but there could be some showers, some rumbles of thunder as this front slowly makes its way through. And Ashtabula still not looking at least perfectly dry just yet, but we're starting to see some breaks as this system moves further south into central Ashtabula County right now. Yeah, I don't think there's any snow potential. I mean, could you imagine shoveling snow in this heat? I really could not see that happening at all. Ravenna, I think Ravenna is actually a little bit better off now. Still some rain chances for the rest of this evening, but as far as severe weather, things are looking a little bit better off. So we still have that severe thunderstorm warning for another 5 or so minutes for central Portage County, but I think Ravenna, you're looking much better. But those for the central half of at least Hartville down into Lexington, Alliance, North Canton, it's going to get a little bit more at least rainy and thundery before it gets a little bit drier for the latter half of this evening. So this is the next line of storms pushing further south into the Route 30 corridor. So we've been tracking this for several hours now. A little after 4 o'clock we began, and we're still tracking more of these storms for the rest of this evening. Stowe, there could be some rain. I don't think a lot of severe potential, as you've seen a lot of rain so far, and that's really kind of helped to stabilize the atmosphere here in the central half of Summit County. So I think more or less we're looking better, but still some rain chances, maybe a few more rumbles of thunder before the end of this evening. Let's see here. Dover, we're looking at those storms just kind of moving into northern parts of Stark County. Just a sec. Hello. Okay. Okay. And can I get the monitor switched over from at least into programming? Okay. Yes. Okay, so I don't have to do anything in StreamYard per se. You'll take care of all that. Okay, excellent. Okay. Talking to my director and my producer, getting set for our 6 o'clock newscast, which will be in the next few minutes. So we'll definitely take a bit of a pause, getting ready for our 6 o'clock newscast on air. And then we'll come back during our breaks in between hits here on our Facebook page and YouTube account, giving you all the weather information this evening. And we'll be looking at more in the way of some storms pushing further south into the Route 30 corridor between the next hour and a couple of hours. So we're still going to be here until this actually starts to at least dissipate completely, as these storms still packing a bit of a punch around the Route 30 corridor right now towards Atwater, Greene, Canaan and also into at least the Youngstown area. A lot of those severe thunderstorm warnings still in play for the next hour, hour and a half in some locations. Ashtabula set to expire in the next few minutes. Let's keep the fingers crossed that continues. But yeah, abysmal as far as the front, which is not a problem in my book. We'll see some rain, I think, with this line moving further southward, but not really showing signs of intensification at all. Maybe a rumble or two of thunder, a possibility, but we'll definitely see some things a little bit quieter as our front pushes further southward into this afternoon. So thank you very much, Mary. We love to hear from you guys, all the questions, all the observations. We're definitely here for you guys, keeping you safe. We got Trent out in Storm Tracker checking out some potential damage around Cuyahoga Falls. Later this afternoon, we'll get some more information there. He'll be out checking some of those roads during our newscast. So we're definitely all hands on deck with this storm system as it does move into northeast Ohio this afternoon. Things, thankfully, quieting down after we get closer to sunset tonight, but a lot of that threat will be wrapping up over the next couple of hours. So that is some good news there, but still a little bit more rain and some thunder to contend with here across northeast Ohio. 1 minute till the top of our show, and we'll get into our newscast, and we'll be talking on TV for a little bit. And then once we get done with that segment, we'll come back to you and give you all the latest weather information here on our streaming on Facebook, also our YouTube account, and I believe our app also is what we're streaming on this afternoon, keeping you all safe with these storms pushing through the region late on this Saturday. Thank you. 30 seconds until we get to the top of the show here. Okay, 10 seconds. Todd, can I get the programming monitor switched over? Okay. Okay. Yeah, Tara, a lot of smoke yesterday, and we finally cleared that out, but more severe weather moving into northeast Ohio. But in the Digital Weather Center here at News 5 all afternoon tracking these thunderstorms. We have a severe thunderstorm watch for the entire viewing area until about 9 o'clock, and we've been tracking some decent severe weather over the last couple of hours. So right now, currently, we have several severe thunderstorm warnings in play from about the Route 30 corridor in parts of at least Stark County, Wayne County, and points southward is the bigger threat with a lot of these storms that are continuing to move into northeast Ohio. We did have one warning for parts of Ashtabula County. Thankfully, that has expired. And still a little bit of rain across parts of Lake Erie, which is the actual front starting to make its way further southward, but not a lot of, at least, excitement with that front. So that is some good news, but we still have some severe thunderstorm warnings over the next 45 minutes or so for parts of Stark and Wayne County into at least the Route 30 corridor, and then just to our south and west around parts of at least the Mansfield area. We also have some severe weather to contend with just to the south of central Mansfield, parts of at least southern Ashland County, around at least the southern tip of Ashland County. A lot more heavy, steady rain, some very gusty winds associated with this at least system as it does move further southward, and that warning goes through about 6:30 as well. So a lot of severe potential for the end of this afternoon and evening, and the man tracking it all this evening, Mr. Trent McGill. How are things looking on the roadways so far? Hey, thank you. All right, so we got still some storms to contend with. Let's see here. Ashley, down in Canton, there could be potentially some gusty winds, some very heavy rain, and a good bet as well as this system moves further southward. So North Canton starting to see more of that threat, and also into parts of at least the central half of Stark County between now and the end of this evening. So still some gusty winds possibility with some very heavy rains and also some frequent lightning. So let's see here. Yeah, a lot of these lightning strikes are really starting to kind of line up for most of the central half of the Route 30 corridor. So a lot of these storms kind of producing more of those heavy downpours and a little bit more lightning than anything for this evening. So a lot of these storms continuing to move further south at about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So more rain on the way for the end of this afternoon and early evening across parts of northeast Ohio, but the front really itself not really showing a lot of potential of some very heavy rain. Maybe a lightning bolt or two is all we're kind of mustering across just north of downtown Cleveland. So the severe threat kind of pushing further south late this afternoon and early evening as the main line of storms kind of gobbles up a lot of that at least instability that we've been using to feed these thunderstorms over the last several hours. So the further south you are of the Route 30 corridor, I think the better chance of maybe seeing some damaging winds, some very heavy rain and frequent lightning. But the further north you are, I think a better chance of not really seeing too much other than some rain, maybe a rumble or two of thunder. So not quite giving the all clear just yet, but things are progressing towards that all clear a little bit sooner rather than later here in the next couple of hours. So we still have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings across the Route 30 corridor for the next about 45 minutes or so, all the way from parts of at least the Oroville area into Canal Fulton, North Canton now under that severe thunderstorm warning, into at least, yeah. Hey, Trent.
Hey, Phil, you can pop me up. I got some, nothing really damaging, but we just pulled off. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, good to go. I got you up on the stream.
Well, then here we go. If you guys are on the stream, you guys are listening as well. We just pulled off on Graham Road, just off of 8, and the stoplight just getting off of Route 8 was flashing, which means it took a power hit. Looking around, I'm not seeing any other. I mean, this one here at Hudson Drive is working just fine. But we are going to take a right. Of course, we're going to go straight through, straight west, probably towards the National Park. There's a bunch of debris on the sides of the Route 8 back there. I'm not seeing a whole lot now. I'm going to be real with you. Not seeing a whole lot of issues or anything like that. So we're going to go look for it. We're going to go find it. We're going to see where that hot spot was, and we'll let you know as soon as we do find something. I see some emergency lights up here on the left. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye out, man. We'll let you know if you see anything.
We do have trees down. All right.
Phil, I had you on mute. Sorry, man.
Yeah, there are trees down. On a house.
Oh, wow.
So, it's hard. I can't move the camera over there, but I guess it's not. It's just against the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're on Grand Road here in Cuyahoga Falls.
Okay.
So that burst, when you were tracking that burst, that was 70 plus mile per hour radar indicating. We're seeing looking down some of these side roads and some of the roads that left and right. There's branches all over.
It doesn't look like a lot of power outages, thankfully.
Street lights are on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Side yard lights and stuff like that are doing just fine. Yeah, there's just branches kind of all over.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a quick Huey, see if we can get you some of that activity. And, man, you were live. You were tracking this stuff out whenever this was going through. So glad you were in there. Glad you were streaming. Glad folks were on YouTube and Facebook watching you. Hopefully everybody knew this line was coming in. This was in the forecast, has been forecasted through. So, yeah, there's some branches right there.
Yeah, we've got some damage confirmed with these storms. Definitely brings it full circle when you've actually got the radar showing one thing and you actually see what that potential could be in the field. So
pretty large branches. So yeah, we'll go look for some more, man.
All right.
Keep track more of these storms. Let us know where these are all.
All right, we got some more storms going through the area right now, and we'll continue to track these over the next couple of hours. But yeah, a lot of damage starting to take shape with a lot of trees in through parts of Cuyahoga Falls with that potentially 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts within the last hour through parts of Cuyahoga Falls and southeastern half of Summit County, even into Portage County. Maybe a few at least damages being reported there as well. So a lot of these storms kind of pushing further south. About 40 miles an hour, but the good news is not a lot of resurgence in these storms along the lakeshore to the north. So the potential is kind of at least lessening for severe storms after we get through this main line towards the south. So that is certainly some good news, but still a little bit of rain, maybe some rumbles of thunder could potentially impact the very beginning of that Guardians game this evening, but a little bit more in the way of at least brighter futures for the baseball situation this evening here in downtown Cleveland. So a lot of these storms pushing further southward. I think once we get past most of this in Mansfield, should be good to go. We still have a little bit more time between now and about 6:45, 7 o'clock before a lot of these storms start to move out of the Route 30 corridor. So still potential for some damaging winds, a lot of at least frequent lightning, and some very heavy rains as these storms are pushing further southward and also into this evening. So let's see here. Okay. Okay, we got some more information here as these storms are now starting to move further southward. Carroll County now under a severe thunderstorm warning till about 7:15, and that includes the extreme northern half of Tuscarawas County as this line is pushing further and further southward. So still potential for some stronger storms within the next couple of hours in our southern communities. So let's take a look at what we got going on right now with temperatures. Probably a big cool down within the last couple of hours. Lower 70s across Ravenna into Canton, 71 now in Akron, upper 70s in Worcester. A lot of mid 80s though around Millersburg and into the lower 80s in Dover, New Philly. So that potential will start to at least cool things down with some of these storms as we get into the end of this evening. As far as winds, there's definitely some gusts. We got some more potential of some stronger gusts now in at least parts of Stark County. Let's take a look here. Let's take the lightning off. Come on. Let's see. Yeah, some more gusty winds. Let's see here. Some of these samples. 60 mile per hour wind potential. Yeah, also around the 60 miles an hour. So just to the east of Harrisburg, that threat for some 60 to maybe 70 mile per hour winds, and just east of the North Canton area. So this could potentially cause some damage within the next 5 or so minutes as these storms are moving a little bit further south and east at about 40 miles per hour. So starting to see a little bit more of that resurgence. This is probably the same, at least portion of the storm that was impacting parts of Cuyahoga Falls within the last hour or so. So if you're further east in North Canton, around the Route 30 corridor, just to the north of that, in fact, some stronger winds just to the west of Alliance into Cairo and North Canton. More of those stronger winds certainly taking shape this afternoon and early evening. Let's take a look at other than that. So just a couple of at least concerns around the Stark County area right now. Further south, not really showing a lot more of those, so that is some good news. But this is probably that at least section of storm that was causing that potential of some damage earlier this afternoon with that storm that moved through parts of Cuyahoga Falls. So right around the Alliance area, potentially could see some damaging winds. The Beechwood area towards Freeburg, Louisville, and right around North Canton, just to the east of that. More of those stronger winds, maybe in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour as these storms continue to move a little bit further eastward. So let's kind of rewind here. And yeah, they're kind of resurging a little bit as we get into the evening hours. So those at least potential damaging wind gusts right now in between North Canton and Alliance. So there might be some, at least trees, some damage to maybe a few power lines. I've not heard any big reports of any power outages necessarily from these storms right now, which is certainly some good news, as a lot of folks have been out of power with many of those, at least threats of severe weather in the last couple of weeks. So let's take a look at that potential some storms outside of the Stark County area right now. So not anything to be of big concern about here in Greater Cleveland. Could be a little bit of rain. Now moving into downtown, maybe a rumble or two of thunder a possibility. Not really too much else across the western basin, so that is some good news. Mariners definitely want to be aware. There could be some gusty winds as that marine warning in place from the shoreline of at least Lake and Cuyahoga County all the way to the west around parts of Lorain County. So boaters probably don't want to be out on the water right now with that marine warning in place. Some stronger winds could potentially make things a little bit more hazardous. But the main focus is going to be for our central and southern communities for the next couple of hours, with a lot of these storms pushing further southward, impacting Carroll County right now and eventually getting through parts of Tuscarawas County. A bit of a break, thankfully, in between these two storms around Canton towards the Worcester area, maybe a few raindrops, but thankfully not a lot going on for the Wayne County area right now. So that is some good news, but still some strong severe storms just to the south of Mansfield, and that lightning display, nearly 650 lightning bolts within this storm alone, causing some big issues for folks just to our south and west of the Mansfield area. Okay, let's see. So that is slowly making its way out of Mansfield. So I think Mansfield and Ashland, you're more or less in the clear right now. So that is some good news. Canton's still in the thick of it right now with more of those stronger wind gust potentials, some very heavy rains here in northeast Ohio, and more of these at least storms pushing into our extreme southern communities for the latter half of this afternoon. But once we get past all of this, I really think within probably the 7, if not the 8 o'clock hour at the very latest, we'll be able to call the all clear for these storms, as the severe potential is really not materializing with the actual fronts as it does move further into the lakeshore this afternoon and early evening. So that's one severe thunderstorm warning. Thank you. And 4.5, you said? 4:45, okay. So getting ready for our next TV hit right now. Let's see here if I get my show in place. So we'll be talking more of these storms. Okay. Okay, so downtown Akron, a little bit quieter, still some rain across the area, but things are definitely improving greatly for the afternoon and evening today. So thank you. Okay, getting ready for TV right now. Hi, Tara. Yeah, we have a severe thunderstorm watch until about 9 o'clock for the entire News 5 viewing area. We've been tracking all afternoon on YouTube, our Facebook account, also our app. So if you're able to join in after this newscast, we'll be tracking the storms until they're out of the area. But that severe thunderstorm watch at least until about 9 o'clock. We've seen some damaging winds potentially out there, especially in the last hour or so. So let's take a look at least the radar at the moment. So we have several severe thunderstorm warnings in play for parts of Stark County, also right around the Route 30 corridor, just issued for parts of Carroll County, northern parts of Tuscarawas County, and also the extreme southern half of Richland, and also into the bottom parts of Ashland County through the next at least hour or so. And this is going to be the main focus for severe thunderstorms here in northeast Ohio. The front itself still off towards the north, so we still have a little bit of rain to contend with. But you'll notice there's not a lot of active weather along this frontal boundary by any stretch. So the front itself is a little bit weaker, so that is some good news. But the main focus is well to the south of the at least main front. So we'll be talking still some stronger winds and maybe some at least torrential downpours. Zoom into parts of at least the Canton area and still some very, very heavy rain. But let's take a look at our base velocity, which is showing some at least concern, maybe 50, 60, perhaps even 65 plus with some of those wind gusts just to the south and west of Alliance. This storm was a little bit further north and west into parts of Cuyahoga Falls. Meteorologist Trent McGill's out in Storm Tracker right now checking out a little bit of damage. We've seen some trees down out in the area. So there has been some gusty winds. Not a lot of power outage reports necessarily from these stronger winds, but still getting close to maybe 60 mile per hour, 65, maybe near 70 with some of these stronger winds in eastern parts of Stark County. That is the biggest concern I'm having right now with these storms as we get into this evening and first half of the overnight tonight. So still some stronger winds, a good possibility for the latter half of the evening hours before things start to quiet down after we get past sunset tonight. So we have this main front, which is slowly sagging southward, and thankfully not a lot of impact from the actual front itself. But once the front passes through, we'll clear at least clear for severe weather for this evening. So that is some good news. This high pressure will begin to build in from the north and northwest, but we still have a lot of potential of some stronger storms this evening here, at least in northeast Ohio, for the end of the day today. So as I mentioned, a few severe thunderstorm warnings basically along the Route 30 corridor, potentially could be dropping further south within the next couple of hours. So I think parts of at least Tuscarawas County seeing some stronger storms, and also into maybe the extreme southern half of Richland County between now and about 7 o'clock. And then once we get past all that, things will be much, much quieter here in northeast Ohio. But the smoke kind of makes a comeback, unfortunately, during the day tomorrow, as winds will be more to the north. So a little bit of light wildfire smoke still a possibility here in parts of northeast Ohio. Not as dense as it was over the last week, but still a chance for some of that wildfire smoke to spill further southward again. So some hazy skies, maybe some breathing issues once again on Sunday, even into at least the start of the new work week. So the threat is still there for a little bit of at least air quality concern for the start of the new week. But temps right now cooling down. We're into those lower 80s around parts of Medina, 72 in Akron to Canton, 81 in Dover, New Philly. And we're still looking at some pretty hefty dew points, a lot of 70s to round out the day today. So temperatures throughout the overnight tonight eventually dropping back into the low and mid 60s once that front kind of squeegees most of the dew points out of here for the end of the overnight tonight. Through the day tomorrow will be a lot cooler, a lot of upper 70s to near 80 for those daytime highs. So a much cooler day tomorrow, but we'll still track some rain for the latter half of this evening before things quiet down as we get closer and closer to the sunset. And then by the time we get into the wee hours of tomorrow morning, there might be some fog along with some of that wildfire smoke spilling back into the area. But overall, a lot quieter of a day here in northeast Ohio for your Sunday. And we'll be tracking those temperatures, I think, a little bit cooler than average. A lot of lower and middle 80s is what we get to this time of the year. And we'll track a little bit more cooler air again by Monday morning with some lower 60s. Clouds and definitely some more showers and more thunderstorms will begin to arrive for the latter half of the day on Monday, as we'll take a look at those showers and storms increasing by Monday evening after we get through a pretty quiet day. Showers and storms might be a little bit more strong to severe. And then look at this, lower 70s for daytime highs by Wednesday, Thursday, and we might be talking some upper 50s maybe to start off the morning by Thursday with more sun during the afternoon. All right, so that is our 7-day forecast. So a lot of those, at least raindrops, will begin to quiet things down once we get past Tuesday. So the threat is still there for some severe weather even into the middle part of this week. So we're still not quite out of the woods 100% within the next couple of days. Another front will begin to move back in. So we'll be tracking maybe some more severe weather by Tuesday, mid to late morning throughout the afternoon. So we'll have more details by Monday and early Tuesday. But right now, still some severe storms for parts of Stark County until about 6:45 this afternoon. So we'll still be tracking those until we're done with the severe threats here in northeast Ohio. And still a lot of heavy rain with these storms that are slowly making their way southward across the Route 30 corridor. But the further west you are, I think things are much more improved. Mansfield, we're not under that warning at all right now. So I think most of Richland and Ashland County kind of say mostly all clear. There could be maybe a rumble or two of thunder, at least in the southern half of the county. But I think most of Mansfield towards the Ashland area, if you know anyone around Loudonville, that potentially could be a little bit more dicey with some heavy rain around the Butler area. Belleville, still looking at some rain showers and rumbles of thunder, but things are definitely improving greatly in our western communities. Still a little bit more time, though, before we can give the all clear in our eastern communities. So the Route 30 corridor is still very, very active with some rumbles of thunder right now. And the further north you are, Route 30, I think the better chance of not seeing much, if anything, as far as even rain. So the further north you are, greater Cleveland, I think we're mostly in the all clear, at least into Medina, Akron, towards the Geauga County, Lake County area. I think most of those areas are pretty much done with severe weather for the time being. There might be a little bit of rain with the actual front pushing in for the end of this afternoon and early evening. But the severe potential certainly with us in our southern communities for the end of this evening. So a lot of these storms kind of impacting areas around Route 30 and points south over the next hour or so. May see a raindrop or two, maybe impacting greater Cleveland between now and about 7 o'clock. But once we get past 7, 8, I think everything is certainly quieting down greatly. And we'll start to see a lot less in the way of those at least threats of storms once we get closer to the sunset of this evening, which is going to be, I think, 8:58 later today into the 9 o'clock hour tonight. So right now we still have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings for the next 45 minutes or so, or next 20 minutes or so, I should say, around Stark County. Still some gusty winds being reported with this storm. Let's see here. Let's get our velocity in place. Yeah, these winds are starting to really show some intensification. Let's see here. Let's kind of zoom in a little bit more here. So right around Myers, up towards the Chambersburg area, Bridgewater, Winona, this is kind of the focal point for some of those damaging wind gusts that we've been talking about for the last hour, hour and a half that moved through parts of Cuyahoga Falls, just south of Kent. So there might still be some stronger winds in excess of maybe 60 to perhaps even 70 miles per hour right now. So rumbling noises in Alliance. Yeah, I would not be surprised as this storm is slowly making its way southward. So let's see, towards the Alliance area, we're not really showing a lot of at least concern. Let's check out here. So you're kind of on the northern fringe of that at least storm right now. So earlier, within the last half hour, probably some gusty winds moving through Alliance, but this is kind of spreading out. So more potential of some widespread stronger winds in the at least maybe 50 to 60 mile per hour category. But remember, the further away the radar is from the storm itself, the higher the radar beam is in the actual storm. So it might not necessarily be all the way down at the surface, but there are some wind potentials of maybe 60 plus through parts of the at least storm itself. So that could potentially make its way south into the area. So between about 60 and 70 mile per hour gusts right now, just south of Homeworth into Myers, Paris. So this is definitely something to not mess with. A lot of these storms have been kind of under this threshold, I think, for most of the afternoon, but the threat is kind of increasing as we get closer and closer to 6:30 across our southern, at least, areas. So right now, so let's see. Tuscarawas County, it might continue to fade out a little bit as the storms are really not holding together in Wayne County, so there is some potential of some at least breaking, but I'm thinking probably you're going to be at least included in some of those at least warnings across parts of Dover and New Philly by the end of this afternoon and early evening. So there could be some issues in Tuscarawas County, but I'm not anticipating a long-lived threat for severe weather by any stretch. Most of the at least strongest storm is actually happening further east across most of at least the Columbiana County area into Stark County. So yeah, you're kind of dealing with a little bit of a break in between these two storms actually. So Holmes County not looking too bad and was starting to break up a little bit around the Worcester area, but I would not be surprised to maybe see some of this kind of combining back into one main line as this storm moves further and further southward into parts of Tuscarawas and also into Coshocton County. So probably within the next hour, we'll have a better, at least, vantage point. But pretty much the all clear I think we can give for at least greater Cleveland along the I-90 corridor for at least severe weather. So that is some good news. Still some rain possibility, but I don't think we'll see much in the way of any severe weather in our northern communities. So I-76 and points north, we can pretty much give the all clear. Still some rain chances between now and the rest of this evening, but the severe potential is definitely waning late this evening. So the threat is still kind of there around the Route 30 corridor. Stark County still another 15 or so minutes before that warning ends. Columbiana County also, but Carroll County, that goes until about 7:15. So we have another 45 minutes between now and the end of that warning for the end of this warning right now. So that is some good news there. Cleveland, I think we're good to go as far as severe weather, but like I mentioned, still a rain chance. There is some rain right now actually impacting parts of downtown. As we take a look at our tower cam here at the station, still some rain showers moving into the area. Let's take another vantage point. So yeah, there's some rain falling right now here in downtown Cleveland. And let me see if anybody on headset back there? Hello, hello. Anybody in master control? Check 1, 2, check, check, check. They've all abandoned me. No big deal there. But yeah, there is some rain falling here in Cleveland. I'm not seeing any lightning per se, but definitely the threat is there for some rain late this afternoon as these storms are slowly making their way through. But I think most of the region looking much quieter once we get into the second half of the day today. So the model not really doing a great job. It's showing a lot more active weather across the northern half of the counties with the actual front itself. But I think a lot of the storms that preceded the fronts kind of zapped a lot of that instability, that gasoline for those storms to kind of feed on. So the front is kind of coming through a little bit quieter, so that is some good news. But a lot of these storms are starting to move out of here late this evening. And then once we get into the morning tomorrow, there might be some low to mid 60s, a bit more refreshing air to enjoy to start off the day tomorrow. But unfortunately, still some smoke coming back into the forecast for the day on Sunday from those wildfires yet again in through parts of southern Canada and the upper Midwest, even into parts of Minnesota, a little bit more in the way of fire damage for the end of this weekend. So lots and lots of interesting things on the Power 5 so far today, and we still have a few more of those warnings kind of in play right now. We thank you very much for your great appreciation. We are here to kind of keep you guys safe, making sure you know what's going to be coming down the pike with these storms. We talk about it a lot, but we are definitely here for you guys, making sure you're ahead of the storm and also making sure that you're safe during these thunderstorms. I know when I was younger, I needed to know what was going on with a lot of the weather potential, hence I'm a meteorologist. So definitely know the potential of needing to have information out there. We're glad to be here to help you guys out, keeping you safe and ahead of all these severe thunderstorms. Lake County right now is looking much quieter. Could be a couple raindrops as the front pushes through, but things are definitely looking at a little bit more in the way of at least quieter weather for the end of this evening. Canton could potentially see a little bit more of those thunderstorms, at least for the time being, and especially at our southern communities of the Stark County area. So Canton and Point South towards Banker Heights, Battlesburg, East Sparta, looking at more of that rain. Boulevard towards Zoar as we get closer and closer to Tuscarawas County. So not an official warning per se for most of Dover, New Philly, but I would not be surprised to maybe see a severe thunderstorm warning issued for parts of Tuscarawas County as we get into the latter half of the 6 o'clock hour and starting off the 7 o'clock hour this evening. Stowe, I think you're really not going to be showing a lot of at least problems for parts of at least Summit County. A raindrop or two, a possibility, maybe a rumble or two of thunder. The Dayton area, further south, a little bit more stormy. Outside of our viewing area right now, those storms will slowly make their way southward into southwestern Ohio over the next couple of hours. So, yeah, we're looking at things are starting to quiet down a little bit more. Amherst, things are not looking too bad. We'll be talking a little bit more in the way of rain for the time being across parts of at least the Stark County area. Oh, that's Alliance. I can read. Boy, it's been a while. I need another cup of coffee, I think. Amherst, my apologies. Let's see here. So, yeah, Amherst, there might be a raindrop or two, perhaps a rumble or two of thunder. So we're not really dealing with a lot of at least particularly concerning situations with this front moving in, but there might be a few more rumbles of thunder as this front moves further south and eastward. How is my microphone battery doing, sir? Because I've been on for about 2 hours. So just making sure that I have a microphone battery. Let's see here. Canton just got hammered for about 15 minutes, and yeah, would not be surprised with all that thunder to the south as the lightning really intensified within the last couple of minutes. So yeah, a lot of lightning. Let's take a look at our timing here. My goodness, yeah, almost 500 lightning strikes within this little section alone within the last 5 or so minutes. So yeah, lightning going to be a big concern. So not quite done with everything just yet, and a lot of these lightning strikes will continue to remain on the at least dangerous side as the storm moves further and further southward within the next half hour or so. Still a warning in place for at least the Stark County area until about 6:45, and then that warning at least towards the south at least until about 7:15 for Carroll County as our storm moves further southward. Haven't seen anything officially banked yet for the Tuscarawas County area further south of the at least Dover, New Philly area right now. So storm over Sandusky. We're looking at a little bit of rain right now, a few rumbles of thunder, other than maybe some stronger winds. Not anticipating a lot of concern with that one at the moment. Let's take a look here at some of our wind gusts. 30 to 40 miles per hour, so we might be talking maybe 40 mile per hour gusts with some of these storms as they move further southward into Sandusky. A lot of this area really hasn't seen a lot of necessarily intense rainfall so far today, but there will be a potential for some rain, some rumbles of thunder as this starts to move out into the central half of the river or the lake area within the next 20 or so minutes right now. Let's see here. So yeah, still some rain, but most of the area I think is not really going to see too much more severe weather. So that is certainly some good news. So once we get past these warnings within the next probably half hour or so, we'll definitely have at least a break with some of these severe storms. And then unfortunately, another round of severe weather will be a possibility once again on Tuesday with yet another cold front making its way back into northeast Ohio. So we're not quite done with severe weather this week, but at least the threat will be minimal for the rest of this evening into the overnight tonight. So the severe storms kind of at least moving further southward very slowly at about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So the main focus of some concern right now is probably going to be into northern Carroll County within the next 15-20 minutes or so. So those areas around Malvern up towards Augusta, Eckerly, Carrollton itself, we'll probably see a little bit more of those stronger winds and perhaps some heavy downpours within the next 20 or so minutes. Wayne County, not looking too bad. Worcester under no rain at the moment. Orville, Apple Creek, Shreve. I think most of the area actually for Wayne County is done with severe weather during the day today, but we'll have that potential increasing again by Tuesday. So all's quiet there right now. Let's see here. You are definitely very welcome. Let's see, about half hour from Coshocton. So Coshocton, we'll start to see a little bit more of those raindrops and rumbles of thunder within the next half hour or so. And thankfully, you're kind of in between both of those severe thunderstorm warnings to the south and west and to the north and east. So hopefully we stay on the quieter side around Coshocton County, which is going to be starting to see some rain within the next half hour and 45 minutes. So Canton is starting to see things quieting down to the south. I'm certain probably still hearing a lot of thunder to the south of downtown Canton as the lightning count is certainly very impressive, but Canton itself is looking much quieter. East Canton, still a little bit of rain out there and maybe some gusty winds for the latter half of this afternoon. But at least Canton really starting to show a bit more of a quieter end to the 6 o'clock hour. Ohio, we'll see a little bit of rain between now and the end of this evening, but I think the severe potential is really starting to go down a little bit as we take a look at least the cold front itself. So let's take a look at our frontal boundary slowly making its way in within the last hour or so. Okay, so, and you'll notice a lot of those watch boxes behind that front were kind of at least expired. So I think that is at least a good precedent within the next couple of hours. So once we get the actual front through within probably the next 2 at the very latest, for most of northeast Ohio, we'll definitely see a lot less in the way of at least severe weather here in northeast Ohio. Mansfield and Ashland, I really think a lot of the storms are done with. Still some rain, The front itself hasn't quite passed through all the way just yet, but there is a lesser chance of seeing anything strong to severe other than a couple of storms to the south and east of Canton right now. So I think most of the area looking much quieter, still some showers, maybe a rumble or two of thunder with perhaps another heavy downpour, a possibility. But I think about 90% of the area looking a lot better throughout the next couple of hours. Same thing goes for Lorain County right now. Those storms are really starting to at least lose a lot of those intensities towards the south of at least Worcester right now. So Mount Vernon into Knox County, just outside of our viewing area, is not showing signs of any severe thunderstorm warning. To the south of that, there is a severe thunderstorm warning, which is well outside of our viewing area, just north of Columbus. But the main focus is going to be, at least for the next hour or so, for at least a little bit of that severe weather across parts of parts of Canton, into Stark County and into northern parts of Carroll County late this evening. So between now and about 7:15, as long as everything is starting to quiet down, we'll definitely give the all clear as this thunderstorm hopefully is set to expire at about 7:15 in parts of Carroll County right now. Okay, so thank you very much for all the comments, questions, concerns out there. We're definitely here to keep you guys safe. We had thousands and thousands of people commenting and viewing our videos this evening, tracking all of this in real time. We are not at least messing around with the at least threat of severe weather. We're always going to be here for you guys to bring you the latest with regards to severe potential and tracking it with you in real time to give you all the latest information that we can available here in most Northeast Ohio. And thankfully, a lot of those stronger winds are kind of now out of the viewing area right now, despite seeing still some severe potential for maybe the extreme southern half of Stark County, maybe still at least south of Mapleton, maybe a few more stronger wind gusts. But most of it is actually moving into Columbiana County, so just outside of our viewing area. Northern parts of Carroll County might see a stronger wind gust or two, but I'm not really anticipating a lot more severe thunderstorm warnings once we get into the 7 and 8 o'clock hour for most of our viewing area. So I think once we get past our 7:15 threshold with this storm right now in through at least northern Carroll County, we'll hopefully be able to call it a night and have at least some quiet time for most folks to get outside and enjoy. A little bit of at least moisture still out there until the actual cold front kind of moves a lot of those higher dew points out. I'm certain a lot of folks probably sick and tired of having the air conditioners running for weeks on end so far in the month of July, not really having a lot of comfortable humidity by any stretch, but the numbers will begin to go down for the end of this week. And let's take a look at some of the storm totals with our rain so far within the last couple of hours. Maybe about an inch and a third for parts of northern Summit County and northern Stark County, potential for some of those heavy downpours, which has kind of been lagging a little bit, not really moving too quickly. Other than that, I think most of the area about a half inch to about 3/4 of an inch with regards to rainfall. So thankfully not a big flooding concern with this storm system as it continues to move further and further south and eastward here in Northeast Ohio this evening. So rain still a potential out there. Severe thunderstorm warning still in place for at least the next 5 or so minutes for parts of at least Stark County. And hopefully that'll be set to expire very, very quickly. And another about a half hour before we can call all clear for parts of Carroll County. But I have a sneaking suspicion probably the southern half of the at least county will be under that warning throughout the second half of the 7 o'clock hour as well. So these storms kind of moving a little bit further south and eastward for the latter half of the 6 o'clock hour. Paynesville looking much better this evening. We'll be tracking maybe a raindrop or two, but I think most of that is going to be kind of far and wide. Pardon me for just a second. Yes, hello.
Can you see and hear me?
Yeah, we can still pop you up back up. Yep. What's up?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yep.
I've got I'm in Cuyahoga Falls, Stowe area. There's trees everywhere, man. I know you're still tracking thunderstorms and everything. I know there's still some active warnings around. So this is what this line of storms, if y'all can hear me, has the history of doing, and will potentially have the potential to do more of this. So as this line rolled through Cuyahoga Falls and Stowe, Can you see the left side of your screen right there? That's a Jeep underneath a huge branch. The tree's still standing, but the branch is down. Farther to the left side of your screen there are the power lines. The power's out to these, at least these two houses. And the white house on the left, the farther left of your screen there, that's just in the view there. I just talked to the kid, 16-year-old kid. He was out getting gas, saw the storm, came back. His grandma was in that house. Is safe, is perfectly fine, but there is a lot of damage on the side of their house and near her bedroom where, thankfully she wasn't in. But that's what these storms are doing. We just had a couple fire engines drive by. We just had the Cuyahoga Falls, firefighters and everything just drive through here. So it's in cleanup time now, man. It's definitely cleanup. There's branches and trees down everywhere. There's really not enough there's too many to show. So while you were tracking this stuff out, this was happening. So keep up the good work. We're going to drive around some more, get some more video for you guys.
All right, some intense, damage there from some of those trees falling, a couple of at least houses without power. But I've not seen a lot of widespread power outage reports, so that is at least some good news. Hopefully that will be the trend for the rest of the evening. Thank you, Mr. McGill, for your reports around Cuyahoga Falls. Some at least damage there from 60 to maybe 70 mile-per-hour winds. Still tracking those storms, though, moving further south and east into Carroll County right now. So thanks, Trent. If you have any more reports, definitely phone back in, and we'll get you back up. So, yeah, some intense thunderstorms moving through parts of the viewing area within the last couple of hours. Thankfully, things are starting to improve for Stark County. Another few seconds here before that warning hopefully does expire, and we still have another half hour or so before that warning is set to expire for Carroll County. And let's take a look. If you're just joining us right now, some of those warnings within the last couple of hours. So let's roll back the clock here and kind of go back to earlier this afternoon, right around parts of at least the Cuyahoga Falls area was really starting to get rocked by some damaging winds at around 5:24, so just before 5:30. Those very intense winds were moving through parts of central Cuyahoga Falls, moving further south into Stowe, down towards at least central parts of Talmadge, and that really produced about maybe 70 mile-per-hour gust of possibility, and then that moved further southward over the last couple of hours, and now moving further south and east, kind of spreading out most of Columbiana County under that potential of some stronger storms, and also into Carroll County right now. But as we get closer and closer to the 6:45 time frame, hopefully Stark County will be no longer under that warning in through the next few seconds here as that storm continues to quiet down. So let's see here. Any more? And we've also got some reports out of Talmadge County coming right now from the fire chief. A large pine tree in a house with moderate damage, tree and a power line down on Washburn. And we've also got a tree and pole down on Treat Boulevard. And we've got some tree and power lines down on Ernest Drive and multiple other limbs within 4-inch in diameter or less through eastern sides of the city within the afternoon. So lots and lots of damage within that little storm that moved through parts of Summit County within the last hour or so. So Cuyahoga Falls down into Talmadge. Lots and lots of concern for these damaging winds, and that's why we're here, to keep you safe, to let you know what's coming down the pike, to let you know, hey, we've got some at least issue with some of these storms at 60, 70 mile-per-hour winds within the last couple of hours, and we've got proof. We've got trees down on houses, on a Jeep. We've got power outages. And yes, 60 to 70 mile-per-hour winds can do a lot of damage, even if it's not necessarily in a widespread case. So, yep, the Stark County storm now no longer under any severe thunderstorm warning. So that is some excellent news there. We still have another half hour or so before Carroll County hopefully is no longer under that warning, as this storm is still chugging away in through parts of northern Carroll County, around Mineral City in Tuscarawas County. Bolivar also under a little bit more of that warning. But I think a lot of the winds not necessarily as strong as they are in Columbiana County. So the strongest winds kind of moving into the extreme eastern half of Ohio right now, closer to the Ohio River, but still some potential of some heavy downpours in and around the Carroll County area, even into northern Tuscarawas County. But things not really looking too bad, just to the south and west of at least the Strattsburg area. So that is some good news as far as the Tuscarawas County area is concerned. Coshocton still not under a warning or anything at least specific. So that is some good news as well. And we're still tracking a little bit of rain in the western basin with that marine warning under at least until about 7:30 this evening for areas along and at least west of Avon towards the Port Clinton area. So if you know anyone out in the waters or around Sandusky towards the Huron area, tell them to kind of maybe make its way back to shore, as this could be potentially a little bit more choppy with some heavy rain and perhaps a little bit more lightning as we get into this evening. A little bit more potential of some rain, Pam, for the storms. As far as any severe weather, it's not looking likely. I think a lot of the storms that have moved through are pretty much going to be out of here within the next hour or so, and that's going to be, I think, about it as far as severe weather, as our front kind of moves through without much of at least a severe threat, thankfully. Still some rain with that actual front, but still a threat of some rain with some rumbles of thunder, especially in our western communities from Sandusky towards the Lorain County area. But the main line of storms is certainly to the south, in and around the Route 30 corridor. That's going to be the big focus for that severe potential for the rest of this evening. So that is some good news there. So yeah, I don't think a lot of severe weather is out there necessarily here in Cleveland, and you are very welcome, Pam. Always glad to help out and let you know what's going to be coming down our way. And still a lot of severe thunderstorms in and around parts of Pennsylvania into New York. A lot of severe weather, and believe it or not, even some tornado warnings in through parts of Delaware, all the way into at least parts of New York as well. So that's where most of the kind of spin in the atmosphere has been for the rest of this evening. So a lot of that was kind of to the east of most of us here in Ohio. So tornadic development was not a very likely scenario. Well, we've seen some very strong winds. So yeah, you can get 70-mile-per-hour winds and causing as much damage, if not more damage, than an actual tornado. So severe criteria is 60-mile-per-hour winds or higher. Hail threats of about an inch or bigger, so about the size of a quarter, and or tornado. So any of that can cause damage, and straight line winds have been a bit more of a problem so far this summer. We've seen a lot of them causing more power outages, especially in the last couple of months, and a lot of these storms have been packing a bit of a punch, 50, maybe 60-mile-per-hour winds, but around the Talmadge area into Cuyahoga Falls, right now kind of that bullseye for those stronger storms within the last couple of hours, and thankfully things are beginning to move out of our viewing area this evening, but still align at least a potential of some maybe 50 to 60-mile-per-hour winds as these storms move further and further south and eastward into Carroll County right now. So the main threat is out of at least Stark County. There's still probably a lot of lightning, unfortunately. Yeah, our lightning counter going off the charts as we get close to the 1,040 mark on a lot of this lightning. So yeah, probably still a good decent amount of thunder across parts of Summit County or Stark County, keeping a lot of those at least folks on alerts for the end of this evening. But the severe potential will be dropping for the end of the afternoon and early evening as these storms push further and further southward. And there was a new warning issued for parts of Jefferson County just outside of our viewing area and around parts of West Virginia as well. So these storms kind of making more of a beeline to the slightly east-southeast. So I think most of at least Dover, New Philly might squeak out a little bit more of a calmer evening as the majority of the storm action is moving further east and slightly southeast. So that is some good news there, but we'll certainly keep an eye on things for the next 20 or so minutes, making sure that all of these storms are behaving as we should. Still a little bit more lightning kind of popping back into this round of at least rain just offshore, impacting probably areas that don't need any more rain. Remember, Kelly's Island a few weeks back saw its, I think, a third or at least almost a half of its entire rainfall for a year within about 6 to 12 hours. So yeah, Kelly's Island does not need any more precipitation for the rest of 2026, but unfortunately Mother Nature is not so gracious with a lot of those at least wishes here in Northeast Ohio. Okay. Okay, still looking at that warning in play for parts of at least Carroll County within the next half hour or so. So hopefully we'll be able to give the all clear there, and hopefully these storms off the lake will not produce a little bit more than a little bit of rain and maybe some rumbles of thunder, because there's still a little bit of instability to work with out in our western communities. Obviously, with a little bit more of that lightning still kind of being produced, there's still a bit more of gasoline to feed these thunderstorms off the lake. But hopefully once they get closer and closer to land, they start to fade a little bit more. But this is kind of the only real concern outside of those storms in Carroll County that I've been having for the last 20 or so minutes. So they've actually kind of intensified a little bit. Some rain kind of falling through parts of southern Cuyahoga County, around North Royalton, just east of Berea, just north and east of Strongsville. So a little bit of at least moderate rain, a possibility, but not a lot of lightning from these storms, at least at the moment. So potential will be there for a little bit of rain in the eastern half of the region around Warrensville Heights, towards Garfield Heights, Bedford Heights, Shaker Heights, around the I-271 corridor, but not a lot of lightning being associated with that one either. And central Cuyahoga County could potentially see a little bit of rain before the end of this evening, but let's take a look at kind of the motion on these storms right now within the last hour or so. And they are starting to move a little bit further south and slightly eastward. So I think Westlake, maybe Berea, Elyria, Lorain will definitely need to be on guard for some of these storms as we get into the next half hour, 45 minutes. There might be a little bit more with some of those heavy downpours as this storm moves further into parts of Lorain and also into the extreme western half of Cuyahoga County and right around Vermilion and into Huron. Definitely some potential for some heavy downpours as this storm moves further and further south into our western communities late this evening. So rain is going to be a little bit more of an issue in a few locations, but severe weather is starting to diminish a little bit, especially in our central and southern communities. Still a potential for some stronger storms in and around Carrollton right now with that severe thunderstorm warning till about 7:15. So another about 20 or so minutes before that warning is set to expire in Carroll County this evening. Okie dokie. So yeah, lightning definitely going to be a big concern there for the little bit of time between now and about 7:15 as these storms are moving further southward. But northern parts of at least Tuscarawas County starting to show a little bit more lightning around the Strasburg area. Just to the north and west of Dover, Dover, New Philly could potentially be looking at some light to moderate rain, but a lot of these significant lightning and very heavy downpours associated with this storm that is still severe warned to the north and east of Dover, New Philly, around Mineral City, into Arrowhead right now. So a lot of that storm continues to move a little bit further east and slightly southeast. So I think Dover, New Philly might escape most of that severe risk, which is certainly some good news, but there still will be some rain, perhaps even a few rumbles of thunder as this storm continues to move further eastward within the next half hour or so. Greater Cleveland right now, not looking too bad. We're looking at some showers, maybe some rumbles of thunder just offshore, which may be moving in Cleveland's direction, so there might be a potential for some issues with the Guardians game, but it's moving a little bit further south of Greater Cleveland, so western communities. That does include the I-480 corridor into parts of maybe the Westlake area, Lakewood. Could maybe see a few more raindrops before the end of this evening. And then once we get past that, I think all things at least will be on the drier side for the end of this evening into the overnight tonight. So we'll be able to get most of the area on the quieter side later this evening into the overnight tonight. So let's take a look at any more chatter from the National Weather Service. Making sure we've got all the information here. Okay, no new warnings, at least being talked about right now, so that is some good news. But we still have a little bit more of that severe potential in and around Carroll County, which lightning, I'm certain, is very, very evident right now. Lots and lots of thunder across northern Carroll County and the extreme northeastern half of Tuscarawas County late this afternoon and early evening. But at least for the time being, we have that warning for another about 15, 16 minutes before we are at least set for at least the end of this evening. Monica, thank you very much. We are very, very grateful for your thanks. And Lakewood, I think we'll maybe see some rain within the next half hour or so, and potentially could be a little bit more stormy as this storm moving off the lake shore, starting to move into Avon Lake right now, may clip parts of Lakewood. So I think the best chance of actually seeing more rain from this would be North Olmsted, Westlake, maybe into Bay Village, and certainly just north of Avon, starting to see some more heavy downpours once again with these raindrops kind of moving in along the actual frontal boundary, moving in right now. So still a chance for some rain this evening. Severe threat, I think, is going down. We're not going to be anticipating a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings by any stretch after we get through this main line right now in Carroll County at about 7:15. Hopefully, we'll be able to say goodbye to that severe thunderstorm warning, at least get most of it out of our region. But still a severe thunderstorm warning in Carroll County. My goodness, the lightning is still well over 1,000 lightning strikes within the last 10 or so minutes. And we're still dealing with some stronger winds, but a lot of these strongest winds are kind of out of the viewing area right now in through most of Columbiana County. So just south of Lisbon and into parts of Millport and kind of in that central half of Columbiana County is the main focus for some damaging wind gusts of maybe over 60 miles per hour. But you're not seeing a lot of those at least lighter reds and maybe some bright pinks around Carroll County right now. So that is at least some good news, but still some heavy rain and a lot of frequent lightning being a big concern so far this evening in and around parts of Carrollton, just to the east of Mineral City, and in and around Eckley. Certainly a potential for some heavy rain and a lot of that frequent lightning so far this evening, with a lot of these storms kind of at least slowly meandering further south and eastward within the last couple of hours. So we started streaming, I think, a little after 4 o'clock this afternoon, have been on for at least a couple of hours right now, if I can remember right. So yeah, we're pushing about 2.5 hours here streaming live here on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube account and also on our app. So you can check us all out during any severe thunderstorm events. We'll have all of this throughout the latter half of the day today, and we potentially might be doing more of this on Tuesday with more of these storms as we get into the day on Tuesday. Lorain County, I think a little bit of rain, still a possibility. Severe potential, not necessarily at least evident right now. Let's take a look at some of those winds. There might be a brief gust of wind here and there, but I'm not anticipating anything over about 40 miles an hour. So there could be some wind, a little bit of lightning with this, but not really necessarily a severe risk for the time being. That may change a little bit between now and about 7:30, 7:45, so we'll have to keep a close eye on it. But right now it does not look to be anything severe here in Lorain County right now. And Cedar Point could potentially see some heavy downpours with this actual line pushing in within the next hour or so. It kind of maybe clips parts of Sandusky, but it's not necessarily going to miss all of Sandusky either, as the line of rain slowly makes its way further south at about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So we're still looking at that threat for a little bit of at least heavy rain with more of those thunderstorm potentials in our southern communities for the end of this evening. You are very welcome. Thank you very much. We are very appreciative of all your thanks. We are definitely here for you guys and keeping you guys safe here this evening. North Olmsted, I think, is going to be pretty much out of the woods with regards to anything severe, but still some rain sort of making its way into the western half of Cuyahoga County, right around Avon Lake into Avon. Some heavy rain definitely more imminent late this afternoon and early evening. So we're looking at still some rain chances out there. Avon Lake probably a little bit more inundated down to Avon. Lake Breeze certainly seeing a little bit more of those heavier raindrops. As far as the thunder is concerned, a few rumbles to the north, especially off the lake shore right now, but not anticipating a lot of that threat for at least the threat of some severe weather. But there could be a little bit more thunder as this continues to move in. So as far as the Menor area, I think most of the evening should be on the quieter side for Lake County, which is some good news as our front continues to move in. But there could be a couple raindrops between now and about sunset tonight as the front itself continues to move into northeast Ohio. So this line to the south is pretty much your main threat of severe weather. So right around Carroll County, parts of Tuscarawas County, now into parts of Columbiana County, and eventually into Pennsylvania is where this storm is going to continue to move. So the threat is lessening as we get further and further into this evening. So we're a little after 7 o'clock right now. And let's actually put our radar in motion here, kind of show you some of the timing. So kind of notice that further east and slightly southeast motion with these storms as they do move further south into southern Ohio. And we do have a special weather statement now for parts of the at least western half of our viewing area around Lorain, which means we potentially could be talking, you know, some 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts with a possibility of some heavy rain within this storm as it does move further south into Lorain, Elyria, also into Avon, around the Huron area, which may also impact parts of Sandusky late this evening. That goes to about 7:45, so not quite severe worry, but definitely some stronger winds could be a potential with this line of storms as it does move further in to Lorain County, also into Huron County, and also into Sandusky for the end of this evening. So this line I don't think is going to reach Chardon. There could be a little bit of rain with this, but I'm not necessarily seeing a lot of threats for the significant rain around the Chardon area with this actual thunderstorm. Cleveland Heights potentially could see some rain as this storm is kind of moving a little bit further south and eastward. So it probably will impact at least parts of the greater Cleveland area within the next half hour, but we'll definitely see a little bit more of it, I think, the further south of the greater Cleveland area. So I think even Euclid towards Mentor, Fairport Harbor might squeak out some drier weather for the end of this evening. Westlake, I think, is really going to be at least seeing more of those showers and storms within the next 20 or so minutes. So be prepared for a little bit more heavy rain with these rumbles of thunder, a possibility as well. And we're looking at that line kind of moving south and slightly east with this movement, and it's moving a little bit further south right now, and it's kind of moving a little bit further south and east across parts of at least Strongsville, around Parma, but not officially severe. So it's going to be kind of a general, maybe 50 mile per hour gust at most with some heavy rain and a little bit more of that frequent lightning into the next half hour or so. So a lot of these storms will be making their way into parts of the western half of our viewing area for the next couple of hours, but the main focus for severe weather is certainly going to be the end of the at least line around parts of Carroll County into Tuscarawas County this evening. Okay. Hey, what's up? Okay. Okay, I will put you up. You're online.
All right, Phil, and everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook. This is near Silver Lake. We've been driving around. I've been getting talking to folks left and right. There's a tree on this house on the left here on the garage. I don't know if we can actually turn the camera that direction, but everybody's outside. All the neighbors are just out and about, making sure everybody's safe. I mean, look at this. There's a garage and half of a house and a car. I see a Mustang in there. This is so this is exactly where that hot spot, when you were tracking it out, that 70, 80 mile per hour plus winds over here on the right also. I can see we can turn that direction to your right and kind of show you some more damage. There's trees everywhere. Let's go left here, Ian. Just the roads in general all over the place. Power companies are out. They just look like a tree shredder came through. I mean, look at all this stuff to the – straighten it out a little bit. Phil, there's just branches and trees everywhere. I've been talking to a bunch of folks. Nobody's hurt. There's no injuries or anything like that. I was talking to one of the guys that's out here helping folks clean up, and he was saying that they were just up the street and they had a wiffle ball tournament when they saw it going. They were all playing wiffle ball, and everybody just hopped in their cars and left. So that's why we stress the importance and the urgency of staying up to date, knowing the information. Everyone I talk to, we're telling them, hey, were you guys watching the stream? Were you guys on YouTube, on Facebook? I know everybody watching and listening right now is watching the stream and staying up to date. So that's the first line of defense, first line of staying safe and being safe is knowing the forecast and knowing what's going on. So we're going to keep driving around. We're going to keep spreading the message, man. Nice work on there. Nice work alerting everybody.
Thank you. And my goodness, all of those branches and all those trees, I mean, it's like a paper shredder and, toothpicks. I mean, Mother Nature just has a way of just taking everything down to nothing. It is unbelievable with some of these winds.
And they said it came in and out super.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yep.
I mean,
you don't even know. You can't even react fast enough with some of these storms yet. All right. Well, thank you for that report, Trent. And if you have anything else, definitely let me know. We're still looking at some gusty winds for the rest of this evening in and around parts of Carroll County, which is still under that severe thunderstorm warning for the end of this evening. But still a little bit more of an active end to the day today around parts of Lorain. Some heavier downpours starting to make their way into Avon Lake. Avon, this is not severe, thankfully, but still some maybe gusty winds as this approaches landfall within the next 20 or so minutes just to the west of Lorain. So Vermilion, get ready for some more rain towards the Amherst area, and a lot of lightning still associated with this as it gets closer and closer to getting into Lorain County with over 100 strikes within this little storm right now here in parts of Lorain and also into Erie County. And that goes to about 7:45 this evening for that special weather statement, which is at least a little bit quieter of a storm compared to where we have seen winds in excess of 60 to maybe even 70 miles per hour, as we've been showing a lot of that damage around Cuyahoga Falls and Talmadge within the last couple of minutes. So yeah, definitely a lot of those storms being impactful late this afternoon and early evening with a lot of these severe wind gusts, and still some stronger storms in and around Carroll County. Nothing really showing intensification per se around Dover, New Philly. So that is some good news. I think a lot of Tuscarawas County maybe not as impacted as at least anticipated. So that is certainly some good news. And the rest of Holmes County towards at least the central half of Richland County, a little bit quieter right now. So most of the storm action moving well out of the viewing area right now, and hopefully in the next 5 or so minutes we'll be able to call this storm not severe anymore with the at least threatening of those lightning bolts kind of moving out of Dover, New Philly right now, but still a lot of at least issue in northern Carroll County within the next few minutes once again. So we're looking at those at least wind gusts kind of staying to the east of most of those at least severe thunderstorm warnings. So let's see here. Boy, that's an interesting look there. I don't think that's supposed to be a blue color by any stretch. Okay, let's see here. Let's take off the lightning. And did I hit a button wrong? Yes, I did. Boy. Or let's see if there's just something that... Nope. Computer's just acting like a computer. So, yeah, a lot of those stronger winds kind of remaining a little bit out of Carroll County. We're looking at that potential for maybe some stronger winds around Columbiana County. But I think the good news is a lot of the strongest wind potential is kind of moving out of Carroll County. So hopefully the Pittsburgh National Weather Service will actually take a look and potentially drop that severe thunderstorm warning. I kind of like the blue. It definitely accents our Power of 5 logo very nicely. But yeah, we usually have green and red with the velocity of the winds. So yeah, computers, they do what they want to, especially when using them for several hours like we have been this evening. A lot of those lightning bolts still rocking parts of Carroll County right now with a lot of that heavy, steady rain. Still a good possibility with this storm as it moves further south and eastward. Still a little bit of heavy rain now moving into parts of the islands around Catawba Island, Kelly's Island. Unfortunately, yeah, you're under a lot more rain than you'd like in the next 20 or so minutes. And we're still looking at that threat for some rain, kind of making a beeline into western parts of the viewing area. So between, I think, about Avon into Lorain, down into at least Sandusky, the threat will be there for some more steadier raindrops, perhaps some gusts of wind, close to 40, maybe 50 miles per hour, but we're not going to see a lasting threat with these storms as they do move further and further into our western community. So that is some good news as the instability has really been kind of used up for a lot of these storms. So once we get one round of storms moving through, it's really kind of a difficult way of getting more storms to form behind it, especially after we get the cold front passing through. So hopefully within the next 5 or so minutes, we'll be able to say no more severe weather in Carroll County, but not holding my breath just yet. So we'll look at that and make sure that we have at least confirmation from the National Weather Service that they are not going to issue another severe thunderstorm warning for the Carroll County area right now. Between now and about 7:15 is when that warning is set to expire. Still a little bit of rain towards the north and west, but really not too much of an impact outside of maybe a little bit more of at least rain events with some of these returns from the western half of Cleveland towards the islands. So there might be an impact or two from some of these raindrops for parts of the baseball game, which is hopefully underway at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario this evening. So hopefully the Guardians will be able to get that game in without a problem, as yesterday's weather was a bit more problematic with all the wildfire smoke here in Northeast Ohio. So thankfully the wildfire smoke is out of here for the time being, but the threat is still going to be kind of there for the day tomorrow, with still some at least wildfire smoke pushing back into the area. So take a look at some of our models once again, still showing signs of a bit more smoke late tonight into the day tomorrow. So behind our front, we'll see more of a northerly wind component, and that's going to be kind of dragging in a little bit more of that smoke. It's not going to be as severe as it was a couple days ago, but still some smoke will be at least a possibility in the atmosphere here over Northeast Ohio for the end of this weekend, and we might still be talking some of this smoke even into Sunday afternoon, Sunday nights, and even maybe into Monday morning before things do begin to quiet down again with regards to smoke here in the area from some of those wildfires. Unfortunately, still at least plaguing parts of southern Ontario and even into northern parts of Minnesota. I believe there's still a few more at least wildfires kind of moving into those areas right now. So hopefully we'll get most of that under control in the next couple of weeks. We'll hopefully not have much more smoke to deal with this summer, but you know, it is an unfortunate event when it does actually occur. So we do have another severe thunderstorm warning, unfortunately, popping back up. Oh my goodness. So Lorain County now under a severe thunderstorm warning until about 8 o'clock this evening. That storm did intensify a little bit more. So let's kind of take a look at that threat for some stronger winds within this storm right now. Let's see here. So not really showing a lot on radar necessarily. So most of this must be at least in through the middle and upper half of the storm itself, because our radar is pretty close to the surface as we get into Lorain County. So let's take a look here. Moving at 40 miles per hour towards the south and east, a potential for some 60-mile-per-hour gusts will be a possibility with this thunderstorm as it does move into Lorain County this evening. So those storms are doing what they want to do this evening. So still some gusty winds. Possibility with this thunderstorm as it does move into parts of Lorain County, and still a severe thunderstorm warning in the extreme eastern half of Carroll County till about 7:45. So they did drop the majority of that warning for Carroll County. So that is certainly some good news there. So not really seeing a lot of stronger winds. Most of the strongest winds remain well to the east of Carroll right now. So that is some good news. A lot of those storms are quieting down in our southeastern communities, but we still have one severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for parts of Lorain County. That does include Elyria, and that goes through about 8 o'clock until this storm is pushing through, and we'll be talking some stronger winds associated with this storm and definitely some heavy rain moving into parts of Lorain County right now, even into western Cuyahoga County. Still maybe a little bit more in the way of some heavier downpours around the Westlake area, even into Berea. So we'll keep a close eye on this here in the area. So windy and heavy rain rocking the river in Lorain. Yeah, would not be surprised to maybe pick up another tenth, maybe 2/10 of an inch with some of these raindrops within the next half hour and through parts of Lorain County. So we have about 45 more minutes until this severe thunderstorm warning is expired. Let's hope that is the last severe thunderstorm warning for this evening. So we still have at least one little batch of some severe weather in our northwestern communities to contend with this evening. All righty. So south side of Lorraine getting pretty inundated right now. Avon definitely showing a lot of heavy, steady rain just to the north of Sheffield. We got some power flickers going on in Sheffield Lake, so hopefully that is not a sign of at least power outages. And let me check on, see if I can find some power outage numbers here. Okay. Okay, so here in Ohio, we're up to 25,000 without power. The most, obviously, going to be in Summit County. Let's see if I can maybe drag this into... Let me see here. Oh, yep, there we go. So a little over 25,000 people without power. Most of the power outages confined, at least here in our viewing area, to Summit County, where we did see that big, at least wind gust of maybe close to 70 miles per hour. So yeah, not a lot of widespread power outages. Certainly some good news there. But as far as Summit County, we're looking at over about 7,500 power outages right now. Stark County, a little over 2,500. And into Trumbull County, a little over 1,800 right now. Here in Cuyahoga County, less than 1,000. Portage County under that number as well. So still some issues with power outages, at least a possibility between now and the end of this evening for some areas here in Northeast Ohio. Batteries, yes, I will need some new batteries. Good, sir. Thank you, thank you. Let me change the batteries here. Okay, I'll give you that. Talking for 62 years. Okay. Let's see here. Thank you, sir. Okay, you know you've been online for way too long when your batteries need to be changed. So yeah, we're approaching the 3-hour mark here this evening with severe weather coverage here on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page. So thanks for being here. We are enjoying a little bit more of a quieter evening in parts of the area, but still some severe weather possibilities right now in Lorain County. Still keeping those severe thunderstorm warnings in play for the next 40 or so minutes for Lorain County for some gusty winds, maybe up to 60 miles per hour, and definitely some very heavy rain. And we've seen some power flickerage in Sheffield Lake. That is not good news there as well. So right now, the west side of Cleveland, still a possibility of seeing some heavier downpours, maybe a gust or two of wind, especially in Westlake right now. Some very heavy rains around North Olmsted into Berea, just on the fringe of Lakewood. Parma Heights, maybe seeing some heavier downpours as well. So still some rain, a little bit more of that steady heavy rain. And a lot of this area hasn't necessarily seen a lot of rain so far today. So the atmosphere is still a little bit more primed to maybe pick up a bit more of those heavy rains here in the western half of our communities. Could definitely impact parts of greater Cleveland within the next half hour, 45 minutes, as these showers and some rumbles of thunder moving further south and slightly east. And the good news is we're not dealing with much else. Severe thunderstorm warning was just issued for the southern half of Carroll County till about 8:15. That will continue to be impactful for at least some gustier winds towards the southern half of Carroll County right now. And then once it gets out of Carroll County, we should be seeing a little bit less of that impact here around Harrison County, hopefully. But still one severe thunderstorm warning of note here in the western half of the county of Lorain. We're just into the first half of this warning till about 8 o'clock this evening. And we still have a little bit more of that issue with some gusty winds once again right now. So those at least severe thunderstorm warnings impacting most of Lorain County through about 8 o'clock this evening, and the southern half of Carroll County until about 8:15. So we have about an hour left until both of these warnings hopefully will begin to expire. Parma, still a little bit of rain just to your south, a little bit more of that heavy and steady rain just outside of downtown Parma. So we're going to see some rain, folks. It's not going to be particularly strong, perhaps, but we'll be talking those at least heavy downpours, a possibility between now and about 8 o'clock for at least Lorain County into at least parts of western Cuyahoga County, even into maybe Erie County. The threat for a little bit more heavy rain is continuing to move back in. So those raindrops are a little bit more steady and heavy in through parts of the Lorain County, with those wind gusts getting a little bit stronger for the end of this evening. We do have a flood advisory now just issued for the Cuyahoga County area within the next couple of hours with this very heavy band of rain. So parts of at least Lorain County into western Cuyahoga County under a flood advisory for some heavy downpours that have been persistent for the last couple of minutes, producing some at least flooding on some of those roadways, perhaps some low-level areas, and even maybe some creeks and streams could be a little bit more elevated with this line of rain that is continuing to move back into those areas. So some minor flooding a possibility, as maybe about a half an inch to maybe nearly 3/4 of an inch of precipitation may be falling as these storms slowly making their way into the at least area just to the west of at least downtown Cleveland, through Berea, up towards North Olmsted and Avon Lake. So rainfall totals within the last half hour or so. Let's see, 3-hour rainfall. Yeah, definitely very impactful with these areas in the brighter greens. Nearly an inch of rain potentially within the last 3 hours across parts of Avon Lake into the central half of Lorain County. So that's the focal point for some of those at least flooding concerns with these very heavy rains that have been inundating these areas pretty persistently for the last half hour or so. And let's take a look at some of those stronger winds as we do get into the western half of Lorain County. Right now, let's put that back on there, and oops. So let's take a look at some of those stronger wind gusts to the west, and let's see. So not really showing a lot of big numbers like we saw earlier. Still some issue with some stronger winds. The National Weather Service perhaps is kind of at least inferring from some of these storms. Let's check out the chat and see if they've got any more information, as I'm not really showing a lot on our radar necessarily, but there could be potentially some gustier winds coming out of this storm that the radar's not necessarily picking up on completely. So yeah, definitely keep in mind the threat is still there for some stronger storms with this system as it does move into Lorain County. And let's check here. I'm not really showing a lot of big concern, but there still might be some at least stronger winds with this area around Lorain County, especially towards Lorain into Avon. There could be potentially some stronger winds there, but this severe thunderstorm warning at least until about 8 o'clock for parts of Lorain County, and we'll be talking some maybe 60-mile-per-hour winds as this does move into central Lorain County within the next 10 or so minutes. So we'll be talking at least the threat for some heavy rain as well, maybe a little bit of small hail, a possibility. There might be some half-inch hail in a couple locations as this storm continues to move into parts of the area. I think some flooding issues also a concern as well. So those raindrops still be with us for the foreseeable future with some of these showers and storms across parts of Lorain and western Cuyahoga County, even a little bit of rain. Now moving back into parts of Hudson, around Sugar Bush, Kent, just to the north of Richfield, a little bit of at least light to moderate rain. So we're not quite done with the rain just yet, but a lot of these storms are starting to fade in our southern communities, and we're still looking at one storm a little bit more misbehaving, so to speak, around Lorain County for the next couple of minutes. Right now we're still dealing with some heavier rain and a lot of frequent lightning starting to make more of an appearance. About almost 100 lightning strikes with this right now, all the way from western Cuyahoga County through Lorain, just offshore of the at least Vermilion area towards Sandusky. So I'm sure hopefully a lot of boaters are on shore right now as the at least marine warning has been in place for a while. So hopefully that potential will start to lessen a little bit for the end of the 7 o'clock hour here in parts of northeast Ohio. So still some storms right now to contend with around parts of Lorain County. The main focus in our southern communities is still around Carroll County, where there's still a lot of lightning. Winds potentially about maybe 50 or 60 miles per hour moving further south and eastward. I think this will start to fade between now and about 8 o'clock. So once we get past 8, we'll start to improve greatly for those at least storms down in Carroll County. Down in Brooklyn, Destiny, thank you for your report. We've got more rain going on in the central half of Cuyahoga County. I'm certain probably some raindrops now starting to impact parts of greater Cleveland. So the Guardians might have some issues with these showers and rumbles of thunder kind of moving in from the western half as the at least atmosphere is still a little bit more unstable to contend with some of these raindrops right now. So let's take a look at our tower cam here in greater Cleveland if we can get that popped up. Still some heavy, at least cloud cover right now. Let's kind of switch the camera view here, and definitely some very dark skies. So the Guardians still, at least under the lights, keeping the ball game going on. To my knowledge, I don't think they're under a rain delay right now. Let me check, see if anything has popped up for the game, because there's a potential for some lightning out there. So hopefully they might be in a delay right now. Yep, they're in a delay. So they're not playing baseball right now. Yeah, they're in a lightning delay. Okay, yep. Let's see here. So, yeah, that's going to be hopefully only a short one. I think they'll get the game in tonight, but definitely some at least concern with some of that lightning going on right now in western Cuyahoga County with some of these raindrops and rumbles of thunder. And still that severe thunderstorm warning for Lorain County till about 8 o'clock this evening as the storm slowly makes its way southward. We'll continue to at least keep an eye on it. So we've got about another half an hour before that storm is set to expire, and hopefully it will lose most of its at least instability to allow it to get to below severe limits this evening. So winds still a little bit more of a at least bullseye right now just to the south of Lorain itself. Oops, don't want the lightning on again. So parts of Lorain in this kind of vicinity. So that's one little bullseye right there, maybe another one close to the radar right there. So still some issues with maybe some stronger winds as this storm continues to move a little bit further south and eastward into Eaton, around Grafton, Oberlin, Elyria. Amherst could potentially see a little bit of at least rain with some gusty winds as we get into the latter half of the 7 o'clock hour. And yeah, gusty winds in Elyria. Thank you very much. Let's see here. No, we should not be seeing much more rain, thankfully, tomorrow. We'll be drying out, actually, as we get into the latter half of this evening. Most of these storms should be out of the region. We should not have anything to worry about. And still seeing a little bit of at least some gusty winds in the central half of that storm. And still some rain kind of popping into all the way to Ravenna. So, yeah, the front itself is causing a little bit more of that rain to form. So around Hudson, Stowe, a little bit of a rain in Ravenna. But not a lot of concern necessarily from the raindrops falling through parts of Summit County, even into parts of northern Medina County. The only real big concern right now is Lorain County with that severe thunderstorm warning through about 8 o'clock tonight. And the further south, still a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Carroll County, which is set to expire at about 8:30 or 8:15, excuse me, this evening. So we still have a little bit more severe weather to contend with, as we're still looking at one severe thunderstorm warning right now in Lorain County. And then this little batch back here hopefully will remain a little bit calmer and not causing too many more concerns as it does move further south towards the Huron area in the next 20 or so minutes. So hopefully we'll not see another severe thunderstorm warning with that. But there still is some flooding concern with these storms dropping nearly an inch of rain within the last couple of hours from parts of central Cuyahoga County into Lorain County. There could be some minor flooding with maybe some ponding on the roadways and also maybe some low-lying areas, a little bit more of a concern. So at least around creeks, perhaps some low-level, at least roadways might be a little bit more inundated. And there's still a little bit more potential of some gusty winds with this storm that is continuing to move through parts of Lorain County right now. So still some lightning, nearly 100 strikes with the storm right now, most of which is kind of staying to the north of at least the Lorain area and also into western parts of Cuyahoga County around Westlake, North Olmsted, still seeing some lightning strikes right now. And we've got nothing in Paynesville Township right now, but we do have some rain falling in Parma right now. So we are looking at those raindrops kind of making more of an appearance in the western half of our region. And rain really starting to expand yet again for the end of this 7 o'clock hour into Hudson, Ravenna, even into Kent. A little bit of rain still falling here in the evening hours this evening. So a little bit of rain continues to fall. Hopefully this severe thunderstorm warning will be one of the last ones that we have to contend with right now until about 8 o'clock. We'll still have another half an hour before that is set to expire. And if there's any other information going on right now with the severe thunderstorms in through at least Elyria. So the gusty winds are going to be the biggest concern right now, and there could be maybe a little bit more in the way of some pea-sized hail in some of these storms. So not a lot of impactful hail necessarily, but with these storms being a little bit more windy, the threat is still kind of there for a bit more of that hail once again. All right. Power outage in Lorraine, I believe. Oh my goodness. So we've got some more, at least power outages to go. Boy, it's just one thing after another with some of these storms. They just don't want to play nice sometimes. So we still have several hundred people without power in some locations. And let's see if there's any updates here. Let's see if I can take this back. Oh, come on, why aren't you working? You worked before. There we go. So we've got at least that potential of some power outages around Summit County, nearly 70 or a little over 7,500. Trumbull County, a little bit less than 2,000 right now. As far as our big numbers, Greater Cleveland and parts of Cuyahoga County up to about 900 plus. So yeah, power outages starting to appear, especially where we've seen some of those higher winds. Lorain County, almost about 426. So the threat is still there for some power outages here in Northeast Ohio with some of these storms that are continuing to move into the area as we speak. So still some severe thunderstorm warnings for the next half hour or so for parts of Oberlin. We do have a little bit of that steady heavy rain around Amherst into Lorain. Let's see here. So let's check out our base velocity, seeing if anything has intensified. So they're still up to about 30 miles an hour there, which isn't extraordinary. So I'm not quite sure what the National Weather Service is kind of checking out here. There could be some gusts coming out of these storms that are actually being picked up on some at least wind instruments. So that might be potentially why they're issuing this warning, as I'm not really showing a lot necessarily from the actual radar itself, because there could have been some stronger winds just before the actual storm pushed on shore. That might have been a little bit more intensification before it kind of calmed down as it did move further. Yeah, so the winds are kind of calming down a little bit, I think. So that is some good news, but the rain is certainly very heavy at times. Wish we had a camera out in Elyria right now, but we do not, unfortunately. Let me see if I can pick up an ODOT camera here. Okay, so that is 480. Let's see if I can pick up. Let's see. Bear with me right now. Let's take a look at, let's see here. Okay, that's 480 and west 130. So definitely some heavy rain as we get closer to Tiedemann and Brooklyn. So yeah, I can really tell the rain is kind of at least potting some of these roadways. So hopefully folks take it a little bit slower. You can really kind of see some of these at least kind of wakes with some of these cars as they do move along 480. So yeah, some heavy rain beginning to fall on the western side of at least greater Cleveland right now. And let's see if there's any other cameras I can get here. Okay, west on 150th around 71, definitely some wet roadways out there, and a little bit more of those steadier raindrops kind of moving into the western half of at least 480. Okay, westbound here, let's see. Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of cameras in our western communities, unfortunately. 271 or 71 at Ridge Road. Some definite wet roadways out there, but not quite as bad. So the closer you are to Ridge, I think things are looking a little bit better out there, but definitely some rain on the roads nonetheless. So these showers and thunderstorms are continuing to inundate a lot of our western communities for the next couple of hours, and rain well into Ravenna right now, all the way from Hudson to Cuyahoga Falls, but not a lot of concern with anything severe, thankfully, as the atmosphere is a little bit more worked over with the severe thunderstorm warnings we had earlier in this evening towards the west. So a lot of those, at least raindrops, kind of on the quieter side across the western half of at least Portage County. But the lightning is kind of going down a little bit, so we're under about 71 strikes compared to the nearly 100 we had seen earlier in the evening. So that is at least some indication of some weakening, but there at least a potential for some lightning with some of these thunderstorms as we get into the latter half of this evening. Through the next half hour, we have this severe thunderstorm warning in place for Lorain County, and we still have a lot of lightning for southern parts of Carroll County with that severe thunderstorm warning still in place. So a lot more of these raindrops probably at least through about sunset tonight, so they're closer to about 9 o'clock before things start to really quiet down. So still some rain out there for at least parts of the next hour and a half to maybe 2 hours for most of Lorain County into western Cuyahoga County, as this is slowly making its way south and eastward. So if we put this into motion once again, you can kind of see the trajectory, more of the south and slightly east movement. So still a little bit more time before a lot of these storms kind of move out of here. Once the severe thunderstorm warning is at least expired, hopefully things will stay on the quieter side and we won't have to at least continue coverage this evening. But we still have that severe thunderstorm warning right now for Lorain, and lightning kind of going down over the last few frames. It got back up to about 115, 120 before we did drop to about 72, 73. So that is at least some good news. We still have a little bit more of an issue with lightning, especially in our extreme southern communities around Carroll especially. No rain right now in Macedonia. So yeah, we're looking at those raindrops just out of those reaches of Macedonia and Twinsburg right now. Menor looking at maybe a raindrop potential for the evening hours, but I think a lot of it is going to be missing most of Lake County right now. So that is some good news. But the main focus for a lot of the lightning is staying to the south around Carrollton, and also a little bit more of that lightning still kind of in play, but those numbers are slowly going down again as we are getting closer and closer to the 8 o'clock hour. So hopefully things will continue to weaken a little bit as we get closer and closer to 8 o'clock, but still a severe thunderstorm warning in play for parts of Lorain County here until about 8 o'clock this evening for some gusty wind potential in through the central half of Lorain County. We also have another marine warning just off the shore of Erie County right now, and that goes through about 8:30. So these storms still a bit of a pack and a punch, and we'll be talking maybe another storm warning in around Erie County if this storm does continue to at least pack that punch further south into the at least Huron County area within the next 20 or so minutes. So we still have some severe thunderstorm warnings to contend with this evening. And let's see here, we still have that flood advisory until about 10 o'clock this evening for parts of greater Cleveland and also into Lorain County for at least rain in excess of nearly an inch within the last couple of hours. So still a little bit of minor flooding issues with this system as it does move further east and southeast within the next couple of hours. So still some rain out there, and we're hoping that a lot of this rain will begin to fade out as we get closer and closer to the 9 o'clock hour. So let's kind of take a look at where our frontal boundary is right now. Let's see here. Oops. So our front is slowly making its way southward. So it's basically about halfway through the region right now, but still some of that rain kind of forming along that frontal boundary, and a lot of it is continuing to move further south along the boundary itself. So we'll be talking probably another hour or so before we start to clear out within the western half of Lorain County right now. So some of this rain will be a bit more at least persistent as the showers and thunderstorms kind of moving in and around the boundary. So we're still looking at that threat for some raindrops within probably the next 45 minutes to an hour in western parts of Cuyahoga County and into northern Medina County. Still that threat for some rain as we're looking at more of these showers and some thunderstorms further south and eastward in our western communities right now. So a little bit more in the way of rain. Hopefully we won't be talking more severe thunderstorms. Yeah, the lightning counter definitely been going down. So that is some good news as these storms are kind of not really introduced to a lot more, at least new energy for them to feed on. So hopefully the National Weather Service is going to be at least not issuing another warning. We do have a flash flood warning. I think that is a flash flood warning. Yeah, for Carroll County until about 10:45. Let's check out rainfall totals. We can change radars here. Let's get rid of that. And yeah, let's check out some of these rainfall totals in southern parts of Carroll County because it has been just deluge after deluge. Nearly 2 inches of rain possible fell just south of Carrollton itself. So yeah, not going to be the greatest of evenings if you're going to be traveling anywhere around Carroll County this evening, as a lot of that significant rain, certainly some lightning still in place, and perhaps some gusty winds as we get into the latter half of the 7 o'clock hour. So hopefully things will continue to get a little bit better for the end of the evening hours. But right now, still a lot of heavy rain in through parts of Carroll County, especially just south of Carrollton itself, as a flash flood warning has been issued for Carroll County and parts of the eastern half of Ohio around at least Jefferson County as well. So folks, do not want to be out and about with a lot of that heavy rain falling yet again. Things have quieted down a little bit around central Elyria, but we're not quite out of the woods just yet with regards to rain. Still some rain around Vermilion into Amherst. A little bit more of that heavy, steady rain now making its way into the western half of Erie County around Palua Beach towards Axtell, I think is how you pronounce that. If I'm mistaken, let me know. But a lot of these winds I don't think are going to continue to stay on the stronger side, as lightning has been going down a lot more. We're under about 45 strikes at the moment, so hopefully we'll be able to not have any more severe thunderstorm warnings with this, but still some rain that will continue in and around parts of Lorain County. A little bit more of that rain kind of popping back into Ravenna, a few lightning strikes as well, but a lot of these thunderstorms have been at least introduced to a bit more of a stabler atmosphere, as we've seen a lot of these showers and storms from earlier this evening nab a lot of that, at least instability. So I don't think we'll see a lot more severe weather necessarily around Ravenna towards at least the central half of at least parts of Trumbull and at least county. So a lot of these raindrops will be under severe limits, just a little bit of at least rain to contend with right now. So we have some at least downpours in Moreau Falls. Thank you very much, Lindsay, for that report. And a lot of these raindrops will be a little bit more persistent as our front continues to move further south and eastward into most northeast Ohio by the end of this evening. All right. So a little bit more of a stormy end to the day today, but things are looking a bit quieter for the end of this weekend, and we'll be talking some drier weather and a bit more of a cooler down for the end of this week behind our frontal boundary. And let's take a look at some of our conditions right now here with temperatures across northeast Ohio. So we're back into the lower 70s from Canton into Ravenna, where more of that rain continues to fall. So a lot of this rain-cooled air is definitely showing signs of getting cooler still. Some upper 60s around Elyria with a lot of that heavy rain, still some 80s in Sandusky towards the Norwalk area. And a lot more of these showers and storms are going to cool things down a lot more for the end of the day today. So that potential for at least a little bit more rain will be at least cooling things down, and we'll be talking a little bit less in the way of humidity. And we'll be talking those at least humidity levels going down a little bit for the second half of the day today through the day tomorrow. We're still continuing with still some 60s and 70s with dew points. It's still a little sticky out there, but it will be going down a lot more by the middle of this week. So if you're not a big fan of heat, humidity, I think the 7-day forecast by Wednesday through the end of this week is probably going to be the prime time for a lot of folks to get outside and definitely enjoy things across northeast Ohio. So the good news is the severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled for Lorain County right now. Let's see. Hello. Yo. We just ended our severe thunderstorm warning for Lorain County, so that is some good news. A little bit of rain moving into at least the western half of Lorain, all the way down into Strongsville, Brunswick, into Hudson and Ravenna. So still some rain to contend with, and the Guardians are on a delay right now because of lightning. Yeah, still streaming. Yep. All right, that sounds good. I'll put you back up. All right.
So this is we're in Monroe Falls. Roads closed everywhere. We can't get to home places. We can't get from places. There's power lines down. There's trees down. This microburst was huge. And I know it was a couple hours ago, but you're not dealing with anything like this right now. But I just want to show you kind of what we're looking at across everywhere from a line from like Cuyahoga.
Trent, is your mic working? There we go.
Still good in there?
I don't see the mic moving. Can everybody hear Trent? You cannot hear Trent.
Sorry about that. You can hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Sorry about that. What I was saying though, basically was this is a line. I know you're not dealing with microbursts right now, but what we were, and we essentially went everywhere from just west of Cuyahoga Falls, like into the national park area, and then on a line south and east. I'm now in Monroe Falls, and this is what we've been looking at. This is, I mean, Rose Close getting into and out of everywhere. There's trees everywhere. There's power lines down. If it's not trees and power lines, it's like branches. It's like twigs. It's things like that. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of this essentially everywhere. We're gathering it all. We're in like news gathering mode. I know you're in tracking mode. I know you're right now talking about where these storms are and you're tracking it out for everybody. But I just want to give everybody a little heads up as to why we do what we do and why we always stress to watch the stream, to watch us on YouTube and Facebook, and to pay attention to the forecast. I mean, we almost down to a T had this for the last couple of days talking about this line rolling through here. So unfortunately, this is what can happen when you get these lines. So Phil, keep it up, man. You're doing great. We're going to gather some more news. The good news, man, is that of all the people I've talked to, nobody's been injured. I've heard of 84-year-olds that have been home alone. They're fine. We've had children walking around. They've been fine. I do want to reiterate that there are power lines down, and I've talked to a couple law enforcement folks, and they're hot. Treat every line down as hot. Treat it like it can kill you, because that's now is when these people start to let their guard down because the storm's gone from here. So, all right, Phil, I'll send it back to you, man.
All right, thank you for that report, man. And yeah, definitely some at least ground truth on a lot of these storms that did move through northeast Ohio over the last couple of hours. So yeah, we still have a lot of potential cleanup between now and the end of the day today. So a lot of those storms packing a punch for most of the area. Later this evening, we're starting to see things quieting down. There's still some rain, but the good news is that severe thunderstorm warning has been dropped for Lorain County, so we'll wait until about 8 o'clock. Hopefully we won't see another one pop up, because if we don't, we'll be ending the stream tonight. So thankfully, we'll hopefully have no more problems. But if we do, we'll certainly be back up giving you the latest on anything that is a little bit more problematic. But we'll see the at least threat for a little bit more rain this evening as our front moves through. Hopefully we won't be talking any more severe weather, as most, if not all, of that is pushing off towards the south and east. In and around parts of Pennsylvania right now and to the south. So just continuing with a little bit of at least light to moderate rain all the way from Sandusky down to the islands through parts of Hudson into at least just south of most of Ravenna, a little bit of that light to moderate rain. So parts of the viewing area still under a little bit of rain potential this evening, but severe risk is going down. So we'll wait about another 5 minutes or so to make sure that that is going to be the case. And we'll be talking a little bit of at least steady, maybe some heavy rain in through Vermilion up towards Amherst, Lorain, even into parts of western Cuyahoga County. Some Strongsville residents probably looking at some heavier downpours. Brunswick down into Richfield, Bath, even into Brecksville, perhaps a little bit of at least steady rain, still kind of at least inundating our western community. So hopefully we'll start to see things quieting down. The lightning is starting to go down as well, so that is some good news. But we still have a little bit more flooding concern in this flood advisory, western parts of Cuyahoga County. So basically the I-77 corridor and points west. That does not necessarily include the Parma area, but does include the western half of our viewing area around North Olmsted towards Berea, Westlake, Avon Lake under that advisory. So some heavy, definite downpours with some of these raindrops over the last couple of hours has produced a little bit more significant flooding concern, mostly on the roadways and low-lying areas and any areas that maybe not drain as well as we should. Overpasses may see a little bit of rain under them. So if you're traveling this evening, and there might be some trees down in a couple of locations, especially in central parts of Summit County, as Trent's been showing for the last several hours, we've had some damage and some trees on power lines causing some big concerns. We've also seen some trees on cars in a couple locations around the Talmadge area, and there's still some issues with some of those trees being down in some areas, so you can't even get through some of those roads around the central half of Summit County. So yeah, straight line winds, they are a packed, at least impactful, definitely. So we're talking some raindrops to round out this evening. So we'll give another few minutes before we give the at least all clear for the time being. Hopefully we will not be talking much more severe weather for this evening, but we're not done with the severe threat yet. Still a potential increasing for the end of the day Tuesday. So let's kind of give you a little bit more of a preview on that. So we're talking severe weather today, almost done with it, thankfully. Let's see what the Storm Prediction Center has going on here. So day 4, which is going to be at least the day Tuesday, we're still looking at that potential for some severe weather. All of this yellow shading is indication the Storm Prediction Center is kind of at least seeing some indication of severe weather by Tuesday. So we're going to keep a very close eye on this over the next couple of days. But right now the severe weather is starting to wrap up here in Northeast Ohio on this Saturday evening. So we're talking a little bit more rain out there, some rumbles of thunder, but the lightning counter has definitely been going down. So that is some good news. Still a little bit of impactful rain, especially in western parts of Lorain County into maybe just north of Huron. So there could be some heavier downpours moving back into Sandusky. So anyone down at Cedar Point may be coming home a little bit before they'd like. Some of these raindrops could be a little bit more impactful around the Sandusky area, towards the Catawba Island. Put-in Bay starting to dry out, thankfully. Kelly's Island beginning to dry out once again, but still some rain impacting parts of western Lorain County all the way into Huron, Sandusky, and even to Port Clinton. Still a little bit of at least a moderate rain, a possibility this evening. So a lot of those raindrops still with us right now. We'll be tracking some of this rain even into eastern halves of Summit, all the way down into Palmyra, around Ellsworth, Rootstown, Ravenna, but nothing particularly at least concerning from that rain as we get closer and closer to the 8 o'clock hour. So we'll be talking a little bit more before we can call it a little bit more of a quieter end to the day today. But overall, still a lot of impacts from these strong to severe storms around the central half of Summit County. Let's kind of take you back a few hours as to what exactly kind of transpired. So we'll put on our velocity product here, which is kind of our winds, and we'll go back a few hours. So let's go back about 6 hours. And as far as the severe thunderstorm warnings, they were very much in and around central Summit County early in the afternoon at around, let's see, 4 o'clock was the first one to really be issued. And then the very much impactful severe thunderstorm wind gust just around Cuyahoga Falls. This was about 5:22 in the evening, and that is where the strongest winds were definitely situated. So about 60 to 70 mile per hour winds were a possibility just around the Cuyahoga Falls area in Talmadge, and that was definitely enough wind to cause some damage with some of these power lines and trees, and that continued to move further south as we got closer and closer to 6 o'clock. So maybe 15 minutes, 10 at most, of some very damaging wind gusts, but that's all it takes before you can blink. Some of these stronger winds cause those concerns. So definitely pay attention when these severe thunderstorm warnings get issued, because, yeah, it can happen very, very quickly, unfortunately, for some of this damage to occur here in northeast Ohio with some of these straight line winds in excess of 30, 40, 50, even 60 miles per hour so far this evening. But the good news is I'm seeing a lot less lightning from the storm out towards the west, so I think I'll be able to at least call this stream a end in the next couple of minutes here. But overall, thank you for all your participation. Thank you for all the questions. And we'll be here if we need to again this evening, but hopefully I'll be able to rest my voice a little bit and perhaps get a little bit of dinner in me, because we've been online for a little over 3.5 hours here this afternoon and evening. So a lot of severe weather coverage here online. We had our newscast at 6 o'clock as well. So doing a lot of things to kind of keep folks informed here in northeast Ohio today. And thankfully things are quieting down. Still a little bit of a potential of some stronger storms in central and southern Ohio. Carroll County, definitely improvements, great improvement, in fact, with the storms moving further south and east of Carroll County. So I think even that is improving greatly in and around the central half of our counties. But right now, we'll be getting close to 8 o'clock in a few seconds here. So all in all, I think everything's quieting down. If there is anything else that does pop back up, we'll be back here live to bring you the latest on any of those severe thunderstorm warnings. We thank you very much for all your participation. Stay safe, and we'll see you at 11 o'clock to bring you the latest on all of the at least damage that we've been at least be able to come across this evening from some of these storms. So thank you guys very much, and have a good night.